So now what do I do? Well, I guess there's only one thing. There's something I'd like to know. Are you real? Can you feel?
Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. My name's Linda. I'm an energy intuitive reader here on YouTube, and I use spirit, my intuition, the tarot to communicate energies for you guys, beautiful viewers. If you guys are new here, then I'm very glad that you guys found me, and I do hope that you guys stay and that this reading does resonate for you. But if it does not, then I have plenty of readings you can go check out and take a look at my playlist. And hopefully you will find one that is speaking to you. Okay, all my readings are timeless, but I am tapped into certain frequencies, and so it could be that our energy doesn't connect, and that's fine. You might come across me again at some other point in time. For those of you guys who are returning and who have been here before, I am so grateful. I'm so blessed, and I can't wait to do your reading again today. Today's reading is a difficult one only because I notice when I do these types of readings, I end up seeing a whole bunch of people go. So goodbye to those of you guys who don't need me anymore, or those of you guys who are triggered and don't want to sit with the healing energy. Okay, all I'm doing is reading energy in regards to the cards that come through here. And if we are triggered, then that means we've hit some sort of raw spot, some sort of shadowy spot that needs to be looked at if we're wanting to ascend, if we're wanting to heal, if we're really wanting to push through our challenges and limitations. Now, it's always up to us, and we could definitely avoid, deny, suppress whatever's going on in the internal world. That's certainly up to us. Okay, but if it doesn't impact us one way or another, it's most likely not even our message. It's we feel indifference. We just go to another pile, we go to another reading, and it's absolutely not triggering. Okay, so triggering is a good thing because it means we've located something. Okay, there's no need to feel challenged by anything that we see or hear in the world, because we know that it is all a projection of our internal world. Okay, and so these cards are going to put together a picture, and I'm going to channel whatever spirit wants you to know about your current challenging situation, circumstance. Maybe you're dealing with a certain person. Maybe you're dealing with a challenging workplace. Maybe you're dealing with a life phase that seems very difficult. Maybe it's an internal part of yourself that you're having to work through or understand. But whatever it is, it's going to show me sort of how you're understanding your current situation, circumstance, or people you're dealing with. And then it's going to show me what is behind that, the deeper meaning or the deeper look behind it. It could be coming from a past life influence that you're not aware of. It could be coming from a shadowy part that we're not really connected to because it's in our subconscious or our unconscious mind somewhere. Okay, it could be something we're suppressing, not wanting to look at from a conscious angle, okay, because it's too painful or just in our blind spot. Okay, this could be something we're consciously aware of, but we're not sure how to maneuver through and find healing through that. Okay, and so hopefully this reading will provide guidance, and it'll provide insight, and it will provide you with a current look at your situation from sort of an unbiased look. Okay, more of the truth or the objective perspective of that. And so that could be difficult to wrap our mind around, especially if we've hung on to certain conceptual beliefs about what we have going on, like it's the truth. Okay, so we have to be open to hearing, but I don't want you to run with a message that's not for you. And so these messages are usually very useful for those of us who have a very good grasp of our intuition. Okay, so this is why I want you guys to work through your intuition so that you know the pile is yours, rather than just be handed information on the internet and then running like it's your truth. Okay, but also not using the bypass by saying it's not my truth. Meanwhile, it's the struggle that you're going with. So this is why we want to see your current situation. If you resonate with the current situation, then most likely the back end, or what I'm saying in regards to the healing aspect or the blind aspect, is in fact your exact situation. Okay, I'm not going to throw a whole bunch of crap at the wall, but sometimes readings are overlapped overlapping and over layered with energy, and it's difficult to put into words energy. So I will do my best to put the energy into words and to clearly define what I'm seeing. But if you have to contort yourself into many different ways in order to make it all fit, then it's probably not. But if it's just very painful, if it just seems like something you're not wanting to open up to or investigate further because there's something within you that's resistant, then it most likely is your pile and it is your message, okay? But I can't force you to do anything or look at anything. That's always up to you in spirit, and it might not be your time to hear it, okay? And so this is why I say I like to keep this channel clean, because there are people who are actually really, truly wanting to do shadow work, people who are really wanting to heal. Healing isn't fixing other people around us and fixing our situation. Healing is all about looking at ourselves from an unbiased, unjudgmental, non-projection angle, and then understanding that we all have our own sort of patterns and our own ways of engagement, even if it's not tied to the authentic part of ourself, okay? It's our karma sort of playing out. It's the inertia of energy that's sort of doing things sometimes without true meaning. And it's conditioning and programming that's sort of living in this 3D world of form that might not necessarily be aligned with the back end. And that's when I'm expecting to see a lot of this, okay? Because the problem isn't generally out there. Although we might see a lot of out there issues in order to reflect what's going on in the internal world, so that we know where the issues are sort of stemming from, okay? And we can't just say, oh, I'm just going to carry the problems of the world on internalized, okay? But your very intimate world is a reflection of what's going on within you. So it does have to stem from the inside. The inside is going to be your healer. Your inside's also going to be your challenger and the one that's pointing fingers. And so we could be on either side of the fence, okay? And it's up to us to sort of understand when we're on automatic program, judgment, and external projection, and when we're sort of unbiased and we're observing ourselves, sort of engaging like a neutral observer, and we get to see exactly the truth of what's going on in our situation. And this way we have more power, okay? More power with what we see and do, because we're now creating space between us and the world we're living in, okay? And so if we have challenging people, the most healthy thing we can do is create space between how we engage and respond by taking things personal, or like that person is attacking us, to seeing that anything they could ever say or do is just a reflection of how they see themselves or a part of themselves. Okay, they can't see within you something that they don't recognize in themselves. Impossible. And they have to first locate something in themselves in order for them to see it in another. Okay, and so this is what projection is. It's impossible to project onto another if we don't have that understanding or that experience when we're in our programming, and when the unconscious is sort of taking action and program in our world, okay? And so this is what being awake, being conscious means. I could see through the program. I could meet people where they're actually at, not their mask, not the dream, not the illusion, not the projection, and run like that's true. But I can take a look at where this person is at behind this. And then I can go and engage or not engage, depending on what I'm being called to do with my heart. Okay, and of course, the heart always wants to be of service, be of love, be of radiant energy, which means outputting love, outputting positive energy. Okay, positive meaning it's not taking anything from anyone. It's not threatening anyone with anything. It's not trying to attain anything. Okay, that would be the ego trying to jockey for position, or like try to get some sort of outcome, or try to protect itself from any sort of threat. Okay, so the heart doesn't do any of that type of stuff. So I didn't expect to channel all that at the beginning, but that was definitely a channeled message for someone. Then maybe that's all you needed to hear. There you go, on your way. But these are going to be very specific messages for 3 piles that we'll choose from for today's reading. These are the decks I'll be using. I'll put a link right here to those of you guys who are interested in reviewing these decks. I do have a playlist where we go through all of these decks, and you can energetically charge them for future readings. And I do suggest you listen to my disclaimer if it's your first time to tarot or your first time to this channel. And if it's your first time to that video, then, or you haven't seen that video, I do suggest you go there, because this is what my channel is sort of about here when I do readings. And so I want to make sure you're sort of aligned with that before we make this energetic agreement of sorts, okay? Because I'm not everyone's reader, and I don't want to have to create an environment for you that's more challenging or confusing than you need. Okay, very certain amount of specific energy that I am dealing with here in the collective. And so that's where I want to sort of pour my energy, and I want to scatter it about, okay, because then we don't get anywhere. And then there's just frustration and confusion on both sides. Okay, so beautiful angels, I will put the timestamps below to the card selection, and then we will get into your reading, and I will see you guys at the card selection. All right, so we have three options to choose from. I've pre-shuffled oracle cards for all three piles here, and we have three markers to choose from, or three colors. Okay, so for option one, we have this yellow pom-pom marker. Listen to your intuition. Whichever one is calling to you first will most likely be the message you're needing to hear. For option two, we have the purple or lavender color marker with the pom-pom. And option number three, we have the deep red marker here with the pom-pom. Okay, so sit with these three piles, and sometimes energy is very, very complicated in certain situations, and so we might be getting different aspects of the same situation, circumstance, internal world. You could be looking at an external part. It could be a someone, a something, or your environment. And then another pile could be your internal world. Okay, but what we want to make sure is that we aren't forcing the messages. So you can pause the video or let it run and see whichever one calls to you. And if you feel stuck, just close your eyes, and when you're ready, open them. And whichever one feels like it's calling you, the first pull will most likely be your pile. Okay, so I'll see you guys at your card selection. Hello, pile one. You guys picked the yellow marker pom-pom. So we have pre-shuffled oracle cards. I've not looked at these. I just ask Spirit for us to take a look at your current situation, circumstance, the challenge you have going on in your world, the biggest one that you're sort of faced with here, and what is the root? What is creating this suffering here, okay, or the challenge? What's the truth behind this challenge? So hopefully we can get a good understanding of how you're seeing it, and then we'll take a look at what the truth is regarding why it's a challenge, or maybe, like I said in the intro, a reason why we might not be necessarily understanding or seeing the problem, okay, or the challenge, or the stuckness, or the obstacle, whatever you want to call it, the shadow. So don't force the messages. Sit through this card layout. If you're wanting to make sure it's your pile, ask Spirit what you'll see, feel, or hear to determine whether this message is for you. And if you feel very in tune with your intuition, you can go straight away to the channeled message, and then we'll get you some guidance and some advice. Okay, so we have three tarot cards here. We have the Hangman, Pisces energy, Justice in reverse, and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Very strong messaging already pulling through here. I feel like it's something very, very karmic here that has a hold of you until you see or understand something in order for there to be a 3D manifestation. Okay, and you might feel like it's out of your hands or out of your control, and I would say you're probably right in some regard, but there are some things that are in your control. But I do feel like there is a block here to what you're experiencing or creating in the 3D. Because I do feel like you're being asked to see something or understand something before you're able to move forward or create the thing you want. And that's all under our own shifting of energy or how we see things or perceive things. Okay, but it feels very divine. It feels very karmic. It feels very much like a journey of lessons, if you will. It feels very much like Spirit is the one that's sort of orchestrating this thing first before, okay, you can actually gain control, if you want, of more things in your 3D world. Okay, so this is the past life oracle, and we have loss, reversal of fortune. 16. That's interesting because remember I said you felt something unjust or unfair here. This is like a 5 pentacle or a reverse wheel of fortune, which means things aren't going very well. Like the universe is sort of making me experience the shitty part, you know? It's like out of my hands. Like when we lose money or lose a job, sometimes when we're laid off in that way, you know, not fired for something that we've done, but when life sort of does things to us, you know, it's like all of a sudden it's like catches us with your pants down sort of thing. So 16 is Cancer energy here. It's also Tower energy. Okay. So we have love. I'm not reading reversals so much here, okay, in the oracles. Let's get some of the big cards up top so I can move those higher up. Is the surrender to your full power. And we see the lion here. So this is the masculine lion because he has a mane. Okay, so masculine energy is all about us being in our power to take action, to move forward potentially with our confidence in facing fears. Okay. Doesn't mean that we're male necessarily, but this could be tapping into a masculine energy here, facing our fear or recognizing our own internal strength or confidence. Okay, control 16. So now we have 1616 again. That could be an angel number you're seeing a lot of or will be seeing a lot of, 1616. Okay, but that's that 7 energy again. 7 is about faith, wisdom, reflection, understanding, which is, like I said, until you see or understand some form of perspective, and then you'll be sort of held hostage here, sort of what it feels like. 7 is also chariot energy, which is about integrating shadow. It's about finding balance so we could work with the universe in order to have success. And when we have success, we can create beautiful outcomes here. Okay. So control. We might not understand how we're controlling narrative or how our energy might be trying to gain some form of control over a situation, which would mean there's still a need for some form of a surrender here. Okay. And love is pretty straightforward, although love could look in many different ways. Okay. But love is without control. There is no control when it comes to love. Control comes from ego. Okay, so we're seeing strength here with the lion. And strength card in the tarot could represent the ego. Okay, so I'm getting some Leo, and I'm also getting some Aquarius, but strong Leo. And 8s are all about movement, change. Okay, and so control does not like change. Okay, 8 is also attainment. So again, ego, it's like outcome maybe. So I need to control outcome. I want to have success with the chariot, but instead of having chariot energy, I might be having a way of going about it because I'm not working with the universe because my ego thinks it could do it in a different way. So I might be too held back or fearing something where we would lose control. And so it's limiting us from doing something, but this is what we're being called to see. Okay. Yeah. All right. So it's requiring you to surrender something here. Upset 77. Yeah. So it's creating tension, of course. We're upset. We're not, when we experience this, I could say it's out of my hands, but it's just not working. Like nothing I can do. It feels lost. It's not taking form. It's not being successful. It's not turning. It's like, so we're upset with the result or the experience. Okay. And so we need to go a little step further back and say, why is this result happening? Because there's some form of energy here that we do have ability to look at. Okay, 77 is a master number. Trust the fall, an adventure that arises from deep wisdom. Trust of life, trust of self. This is all about this experience, so we can trust our own discernment. We can trust the universe without a need for control. We can trust how things flow without hanging on too tight or being too held back. Trusting ourselves in our confidence to make decisions rather than a need to control narrative. or outcome or situation, circumstance, to the point where we're maybe frozen or limited or handicapping or silencing our truth, or forcing our will or way in a direction that might not necessarily be the direction. And then all we're experiencing is stuckness or loss or upsetness, especially when it comes to this love, because love accepts things as it is and it learns flow. Okay. So we have some Venus energy, Taurus, Libra. 77 is 14, so that's that balance and temperance. That's all about healing. That's all about working again with different energies in order to find the right composition, if you will, or the right energy. Okay, alchemy, utilizing what we can to create what we can. That's in a balanced way, or gets a successful energy vibration that allows things to vibrate in the energy that we want. Okay, so guidance, divine guidance, and also integration I'm getting here, okay? Integration of certain things so we could shift the chemistry to heal something very deep and profound here. So we have Sagittarius and some, no, I'm just feeling that Sagittarius temperance energy. Okay, we might have to learn patience as well. And maybe the ego's like, I want outcome, I want to have this thing, and it's really focused on that. So it's attached. All right, choice 7. So we have Mars in, what's this? Libra? I don't know why I'm blanking on this sign. Yeah, Libra. Mars in Libra. So this is Mars energy. Like I said, masculine energy. So I'm feeling some Aries and some Scorpio. Okay, so shadow with the Scorpio. And the Aries energy would be this need to step into one's own power, one's own fire energy to claim and do. Okay, but the Libra energy is that also that temperance energy, you know, the more balanced viewpoint, the more healed perspective. It may be for the benefit of all, or the situation has to be more balanced, has to be more just. Okay, relationships also coming through here. And we're in a relationship with everyone and everything. But we're seeing pink rose, which is all about self-love. And a heart with a sword through it. This sword is pointing down. Swords that point down to me is not seeing a truth that's creating the pain or the upset when it comes to love. Okay, so it could be, it doesn't have to be, like I said, a romantic so much connection, but of love of self, or the truth of our heart is carrying pains because of an untruth, or not seeing clearly, or not understanding. It could even be an in denial, or a held back action, a held back expression. I need to say or do something, but we don't understand it. And as long as we don't see it clearly and understand it, Spirit says, well, I'll keep you here until you understand and see, so that things can flow again, so things can come back into balance energetically, and that you heal this thing once and for all. Okay? Well, we have being safe and secure. Need of the group. Pessimism, fear, doubt, obedience, excessive loyalty. That could be this control. Okay, the veil of ignorance. Definitely we're feeling that. So 6 is the Lovers and the Devil energy. So that's this choice. Do we give into the fear, the control, the doubt, and the held back energy, or the need to attach to some way of being in order to do something because that's our belief? Then I'll be secure, then I'll be safe, then I'll protect myself. Or are we giving into love, which is open, expansive, trusting the universe? Okay, so there is fear and doubt why we do this. Okay, it's learned over time, or it's just an untrue belief that keeps us doing this thing. Okay, we're seeing the gold, which is the high self, or the highest potential here. All right, and then shadow card, we have desire. Harness its power to manifest dreams, not delusions. So the sword in reverse could be a delusion, because we believe in something that might not necessarily be the truth, and so we're living as if. Okay, or we just don't see the truth, and so we're living as if it's not real. even though it exists somewhere. And once we see it and understand it, then we can align ourselves with our desire, because I feel there's something that speaks to your heart that you desire. It says longing, yearning, and craving, but I'm not getting it. It's not being manifest, or there's a block here to it. And so there is a belief in loss and lack, okay? There could be a belief that I'm separate from this thing that I want, and I have a story of how to get it. Meanwhile, it's already existing. So that would be an unbelief that it is over there, and that I must be good enough to get it, or I have to do these things. That's an unbelief. That's an untruth. And you don't got to do anything. You just got to have the vibration of that thing, because it's already in existence. You can already align to this thing. But we're aligning to what it's not without knowing, because I don't think you choose to align with what it's not. You would choose to align with what it is, because you desire it, because it speaks to your heart, because it's your truth with love here. Nobody would choose loss. Nobody would choose fear and doubt and any of this stuff. Negative energy, negative pessimism would mean contracting, because that's the root of your suffering, or the root of it not manifesting, or the root of you being disappointed or empty-handed, or the root of you needing even more control. And when it's a vicious circle, then we control more, and then we force and we narrow and we limit what could actually come. Because when we have limits, it's only in that little tunnel that we allow our reality to exist. But when we don't have limits, okay, I'm talking about limits as in narrow understandings and limitations in our thoughts, we broaden this, we loosen our grip. Now we open the door to the desire coming in and the manifestation, but this is being shown to you so you understand this. Okay, despicable face. So it could be how we're perceiving ourselves, for sure. And it's like one understanding I have about the surface. It could be another, how you see another, or how you see the situation or yourself. Okay, but it's really the surface perception of something. And the black border is really standing out. I don't even know if these cards all have black borders. They may. I don't know why it looks so odd, but the black border to me is giving the shadow. Okay, and so the shadow is the underworld of the subconscious here, the fear, the doubts, the pessimism, and all of this stuff is creating an illusion of something I don't like what I see. And I want to change it. That's the illusion. Because one, we're not in love when we think we can change something. All we can do is change our perspective and see it differently. And then it changes because we see it differently. It no longer creates a control in our world. Okay, so even if you're not the one thinking you're trying to control, and it's controlling you. I'll turn my volume down. It's controlling you, because I feel a lot of you guys feel like it's controlling you, but really it's not. It's your need for control because you don't like what you see on the surface, and so you're trying to make it look away, or you want it to look away, like a certain way here, It's like it won't, no matter what I do. It's like, you're right, it's not going to. But what you can do is shift how you see it, but you'd have to loosen control in order to open your hands and say, I'll allow myself to see it differently. I'll allow myself to change how I'm engaged and my understanding of it, which is hard to do when we really, truly believe in an untruth, like it's a real deal. It requires courage to do this, okay? And it feels uncomfortable because it's like I'm losing control. I'm losing my power. And right now I just want to protect myself, or right now I need to dedicate myself to this thing. It feels very strong. I have to be loyal to this belief or this thing. So I'm paying all of my energy to this loyalty that I carry. Meanwhile, it's like, no, we're being loyal to the devil. We're being loyal to the thing that is the thing that's creating the suffering here, okay? So Moon and Neptune. Wow, strong emotions here, strong. Okay, but 18 is the moon. Cancer energy, so the deep subconscious, the deepest of emotions. Okay, and Neptune's a ruling planet for Pisces, so it's like my feelings, my emotions, and what I don't see or understand makes me feel out of my element, or like I'm losing control because I don't understand it. It's too fluid. It doesn't have structure. It doesn't make sense. I can't know from A to Z. It's sort of, so I'll just go stick to land or go stick to earth, That's what it feels like. I'll stick to earth because water is just too seasick here, and I don't really fully can see. And so Spirit throws you in the deep end, saying you're going to learn to swim here, but I would never let you drown because I am here beside you. But as long as you feel you're going to drown, you experience the drowning. But if you know that there's the chariot and and the universe is with you, you would be in the deep end all day knowing that you are safe. You're just having an experience here. It's unpleasant, though. It feels unpleasant to you because you're just not used to this sort of an energy, okay? But you're wanting something, and Spirit says this is how you're going to align with it, through this discomfort and this learnings and this lesson and seeing it and engaging in this thing. You're not seeing clearly necessarily. Okay? Yeah. And then we have the turkey. So turkey always, I know this isn't the meaning, we'll read it in the book, but I always get gratitude because in Thanksgiving we generally eat the turkey, of course, unless you're a vegetarian here. Okay. And we give gratitude for experience, gratitude for our family, gratitude for what is. So there's a need to accept something for what it is, not for what it's not, because I feel like the thing that you do desire, it is that, but we're not in that vibration of seeing it and connecting to it. So we're getting in the way of that because we keep sticking to the story. It's not, I don't like what I see. I don't, and then we have that constantly. It's like, no, this will keep being constant until you see the greater truth, which is everything that is beautiful in its way. When I let go, I'll finally see it differently. I'll finally be able to give gratitude for my situation. So let me read this thing. I gotta find there it is. The book of the turkey. Turkey, and the shadow. Pluto, turkey. Of course, as all cards, they have positive and shadow. Okay, but this is the Pluto oracle, and Pluto talks about the shadow. So nothing is in alphabetical order in this book, but the card is right here. So that would be about here. Here. Turkey, where are you, turkey? There you are. The meaning, primal instincts. That's this. Staying wild and free. All right. There is a pronounced difference between a domesticated turkey and a wild one. Domesticated turkeys are notoriously dumb and homogeneous, while their wild counterparts are much more cunning. This juxtaposition highlights the benefits of staying wild and free on multiple levels, which is also reflected in the darker, more detailed plumage on turkeys found in the wild. If a turkey energy is present, you're being called to find the value in your own wild and free spirit. That's the opposite of control. That's this. Remember I said you can't peg down water. It's more free because it's more fluid. It's like, puts me out of control, but it's actually more freeing. Okay, as we move through life, we are confronted with many different messages about the way we're supposed to be. It's very possible that we have been given conflicting messages from different people. However, it's important to recognize that people love to protect. Oh my goodness, I honestly cannot read. When I'm channeling, I could read and I could speak. I promise you. Okay, so it says, however, it's important to recognize that people love to project. It's exactly what I was talking about in the intro. If you haven't seen the intro, go back to my intro. We all do it from time to time, but others' expectations of us are really about them and nothing to do with us at the root. Oh my goodness, thank you, Spirit. This card is an invitation to get back in touch with your true essence. The wild spirit that you possess inside that only wants to be free. Who are you without the weight and the projections of society, other people, your family, your friends? Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Give yourself permission to just be and know that you're good enough just as you are. Okay, excessive loyalty. I'm loyal to the belief, the tradition, and the values that I have been given because that's the way I have to do it. And so I might carry shame, guilt, judgments when I allow myself to deviate from this. Okay, it feels like a Hierophant, strong Hierophant, which is that 14 energy is 5. Okay, first I was feeling very strong Temperance, but we are feeling Hierophant here, very strong. Look, 777 as well. Okay, so there's that Chariot energy again. 7's also the Tower. Okay, which, oh, here's 7 as well. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, 7 is also spirituality. So a lot of you guys may be going through a spiritual awakening. It's definitely a spiritual lesson here with this Hangman, because we work with spirit to become more enlightened about the greater truth, but we need to shift how we're seeing things and understanding things. This is very karmic here, okay? But it's intellect, okay? 7, but sometimes our intellect is pre-programmed because it's in the mind. And so the intellect must sort of go through an intelligence, which means an experience of wisdom that happens. So my intellect could understand it. Okay, so it's all about personal growth. It's all about solitude. The number 7s, it's all about metaphysics. Okay, reflection, understanding, like I said. So the sign of Sagittarius, insights to understand, exactly. The wisdom of, yes. Remember I said the insight, but not just from the intellectual, but it's like the intellect through the mind, but the intellectual could be the intelligence we get from the experience itself, or the inner wisdom. Okay, resulting from the understanding of, and then we have your highest ideals, the rules of, and get it out to the world, which would be this full power. Okay, but I'm really feeling the internal before the external. Yeah, okay, interesting. Didn't mention anything about gratitude here, but I really feel that's sort of the key. Highest vibration to be in gratitude for what is, but I don't think we're here yet, because I think we're undoing the Hierophant first. Okay, but the fear is very loud here. The devilly energy, or the chains that bind us to a belief of something, holds the key. It has control over us. Feels very strong here. Okay, perfectionism. Yeah, requirements. There's that Hierophant. Okay, I'm required to do something in a certain way, to appear and perform in a certain way. And it is a performance because we're wearing a mask here. It's not the authentic self. So when the authentic self has to perform, has to wear a mask, has to upkeep something, it feels tired. You know, it feels like it has to be perfect. It feels it has to reach a requirement. It feels it has to be loyal to something. Procedure, seriousness, which could be this control, severity, precision, having a unique vision. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go. So this is the silver and the gold. So this is the version of me that's sort of not online, not in my full power, that's been conditioned and programmed to act in the world in a certain way. So it's my lower self, but Spirit's waking me up to my highest potential and version of me, and I have to see through my own mask, which means the awakening, okay? Temperance, which we are feeling with the 14, okay? Moderation, sobriety, okay, that's even like waking up from the dream, from the illusion. Okay, I'm sober now. I could see clearly. I see through the veil of ignorance. Okay, realism. Restraint could be this control. Simpleness, or rooted hope. Type 7, enthusiast, thinking center between pleasure and pain, 97 and 7. Another 7. Strong Cancer energy here. Okay, and then we have Virgo and Gemini and a little bit of Aquarius here with this number 1. So I'm going to channel this. You guys can go straight away to the channeled message, but I will get it sort of centered here and start to read what your messaging is from Spirit, although I think we touched a lot of what this is already in this card layout. So I'll see you guys at the channeled message. Okay, pile number 1. This is a very, very clear message, okay? And it's very common, when we go through a spiritual awakening or seeing beyond the veil of ignorance, which is everyone is born with a veil. It's called the veil of remembrance, or the veil of, it's not necessarily the veil of ignorance so much, but this veil creates the ignorance. Okay, so I'll get into it, but not necessarily everyone goes through an awakening. Not everyone sees beyond the veil. Okay, we only get called to see the veil when it's our time to awaken to the truth, our divine nature truth. So this to me feels like somebody who is going through a very profound awakening to see the truth. And it feels, it could feel very, very, very scary, of course, because we don't understand what's going on. So the self that we've created has been an accumulation of everything up until this point. How I was raised, what I was told to believe was right and wrong, and who I should be and shouldn't. And I had the power, okay, in quotations, to say, I reject this, I want that, I'll mold this, I'll shape this looks good, this looks bad. And that's the dream. The dream is that we think we're some sort of doer shaping our world, making who we are. And then we act as if. And then we live our whole life like that, thinking that's us. That's not us. It's not, and even if it feels comfortable, even if it feels like we're making decisions that seem like it's okay, it eventually gets to the point where we've done that. We've lived in the world wearing that, in which society has groomed us to think that we are. And we believe it so strongly. Okay, because it's a part of how we built our life. We get married, we have jobs, we have relationships, we have situations, we commit ourselves. And so you're loyal to your life. Of course you'd be. Who wouldn't? You'd say, yeah, it's just my life. Who cares? Nobody. But to get over the attachment of this false understanding of what you're not, you have to go through this process, which feels very out of control. And so the ego, which is the identity and the illusion of control, is very strong here because it has a hold of me, and anything that threatens it makes me feel uncomfortable. And of course it would. And so I cling on even more strong to this need to make it go in a certain way that I was always told is right, or is more aligned for me, and I believed it, but it's actually not. And so we're not surrendering here. And so the root of your issue, okay, your challenge, your concern, is the more you believe that you have some form of understanding that is true, the more suffering you're experiencing here, because I feel like you're restricted by that in which is controlling you, and you're investing in that in which is controlling you, thinking it's helping you, thinking it's the way it should be or the way that you are. And I feel on top of all of this, something's coming online here, and it's very strong. And it is about the truth, talking to your heart through a feeling that you can't generate other than an organic creation of this feeling. This feeling comes on. Okay, we can't choose who we love. We can't choose when the heart opens. We can't choose. We just are sort of experiencing. It's just doing the thing. And this is how we are as humans. We're just humans humaning, Animals, animal. The bird's bird. Like humans, human. Meaning there is no control. There is just being guided by the divine spirit. And we, as egos, like to think that we're making these choices and these decisions based on we actually have more control than we actually do. That is just an illusion, okay? And so does this mean you're powerless? Just go wherever the wind sort of takes you? No, but this says there's a truth deeper than that in which you're experiencing that is actually a part of you understanding that there's a lot that's actually out of your control, that's in the divine flow. And when you align with that, which feels very scary because we'd have to let go of the reins and we'd have to trust spirit. And even if we were never spiritual at all, then it's like, how do I trust anything outside of myself? I can't, And so this is very difficult. If we are even someone, let's say, who is religious and we externally sort of value some deity outside of us, it's still fake, because you're saying outside of me is a greater power. And so that's the illusion, that outside of you, there's a power. Outside of you, there's something. And inside of you, there's something else. And I can only control myself. And so we always hear that, so I'm going to control myself navigating in this other world, in this external thing that's separate from me. And so we believe in a separate existence out there, that the world is happening and I can control how I am, what I do in that world. And so I must chase to attain. I must do to be successful. I must. And I'm this doer in this separate world, or in this world that I'm engaging in this world that is sort of, and it's like, no, you and the world are one. You are that world. And the divine isn't a deity out there that you pray to. It's acting through you. And so this is what's coming online. Spirit is talking about, there's so much I can unpack here, okay? And I probably already lost half of you guys. To put this in a basic way, you're being shown the way through an enlightenment process that gets you to understand something that you have to inner experience and see and shake hands with before you can sort of graduate to the next step in your life. And so I feel like a lot of you guys are right now feel stuck, feel like you can't create, and or there's an experience that's calling to you very strongly. And I feel like the universe is holding me hostage, or I can't manifest this thing. And I feel maybe like every time I sort of try to take a step forward in a certain direction, I'm experiencing sort of a slap from the universe, or a loss, or it like keeps me sort of empty-handed here. And I think your intention is good, because I feel you want to create something beautiful in the 3D. Everybody does. And Spirit is saying, don't put the cart before the horse. And don't try to create the thing in the 3D, because the energy that you're in is going to create the wrong thing in the 3D that's aligned with the false self. And Spirit says, you are called to create something in this world that's actually aligned with the truth. And that's the thing I need you to tap into. I'm not going to force you to create it. I'm not going to make you go anywhere that you're not wanting to go. But what I will do is remove what's untrue by showing you and putting in front of you experiences over and over and over again, over and over and over again, until you finally see through the veil and see through that, and which is, and there goes my email confirming, and see that which is an illusion. So you come to the conclusion of what's true. And then once you remove that veil and see what's true, then you choose out of your own free will to create this thing, because this is more aligned with the truth of who you are. But until you see the truth of who you are, you're going to create in someone else's sort of world. Okay, now, like I said, we're not in anyone else's world, but that's the reality you create. I'm in someone else's world. There's a world out there. I got to play by its rules, and I have to be sort of a player in that game. And that's how I see it. And so that's just a belief in separation and the illusion that I'm a separate being, that I have to do certain things in that world in order to gain what I want. And that's an untruth. And that's why when this sort of theory is engaged in the world for so long like this, and then all of a sudden Spirit goes, oh, it's your time to see the truth. It's like, why isn't that working? Why can't I keep doing the thing that I was doing? Because Spirit says, no, you were doing that because at that point in time, that's where you were needing to be. At this point in time, you're being called to align to a greater truth in your heart. And so there's these deep, 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 deep emotions here that are being felt that feel very unfamiliar to you. And all of the stuff that from the subconscious that comes up that we don't fully understand just yet. And it seems very confusing. Okay, it's all the unseen. It's the intuition, the emotions, the watery, makes no sense. There's no logic here. I'd rather it just be black and white. I'd rather it just be logic. I'd rather it be something I can control and see with my senses. Of course we would, because that's the world we know. But when we level up to a greater state of consciousness, certain things start to come online. And so now we got to rise above the matrix, rise above the material world. Okay, so now this big boy, big girl energy now introduces a whole other world to us. It's like, no, I just want to play small, I just want to play in the world that I knew. It's like, no, Spirit's saying you're not going to play in the world, because it's too small. And you're being called to step into your bigger power, your authentic self, which is your higher self, or your full potential. So your full potential is calling you. But you have to have belief in yourself, and you have to connect to the strength within you. And we don't know what the strength within us is, because in order to tap into it, we have to face our greatest fear. We have to sit with the uncomfortableness of what's going on here. And the ego and the self is going to want the control, because there's too much fear in the unknown. There's too much fear when I surrender my power, thinking I'm surrendering my power, but really I'm just allowing the universe to show me the truth. But then that feels like I'm relinquishing the control that I thought I had, because I want to feel safe, certain, secure, and I'm obedient to an understanding I already have. And so this big fear gets in the way. And when I'm looking at the two things, I see fear as comfort, I see fear as familiar, I see fear as structure, I see fear as the real deal. Meanwhile, I don't see it as fear. But Spirit says, no, that's actually you choosing fear, because to choose love is to accept what's being shown in front of you and not need to control it, and allow spirits to let you flow in the discomfort of it. And you might say, well, love shouldn't be discomforting. Love shouldn't feel all like this. It's like, no, because we've never really known the truth. We've never really opened the heart. We've only ever really known the navigation through the masked self, the self that had to perform and do certain things in this world in order to be accepted, approved, or to fit into our family or society, and be obedient and toe the line and be accepted. And so we want it to be accepted. No, everyone wants to be accepted when they don't see the truth, that there is no such thing as being accepted. We already are what we are. Whether someone says, I accept you, or I don't accept you, it's like, it doesn't change my energy. I am what I am. I am, as Abraham said. I am that I am. So I am, regardless of what people are pointing, saying. It's unwavering. And so that I am presence is the thing you're connecting to. And so I feel like it's narrowing down on you, okay? And I feel this feels very uncomfortable, because it's like the things that used to bring comfort, the environment, the people, the structure, this thing that felt like it was a part of my right arm or who I was, is now feeling really limiting or uncomfortable. And I don't recognize that that's the thing that's causing me the discomfort. I just don't understand why all of a sudden all of these things are feeling out of my control in some way. It's like, because Spirit is saying, because that was never your truth. That was never a part of you. It was just believed that it was a part of you. And so undoing this belief, seeing through this illusion and this veil, is relinquishing your control. And it makes you feel like you're at the mercy of being thrown to the lions, because we still haven't learned the inner experience to trust spirits, to trust this in which we can't see, to flow with this thing. And so it would take a lot of courage in order for us to finally say, Spirit, I am trusting not to believe in the story that I have this ability to control where this is going or how it's going, or that my old self has any idea of what my current present self is needing to do or be, because that was an old version of me, or a masked version of me, or the inauthentic version of me that I was conditioned to be. And so there's a lot of healing happening, and there's a lot of balance happening when it comes to taking that in which is true and weeding that in which is false. Because I feel like we're really cleaning out, okay? Like cleaning out what is not necessarily true, that we've still believed was true, or we attached to or hung on to like it was our truth. And that kept us controlled. It kept us limited and stuck, and it kept us playing small. And so Spirit is making it feel like we're almost losing control, And then we feel controlled by that. It's like, I feel controlled by Spirit. I feel controlled by the universe taking away from me, or the universe not showing me, or the universe making me feel limited. It's like, no, actually the universe is showing you how limited you actually were believing you were. And you never used to feel that way because you weren't really seeing. And when you start to see the truth, you're like, whoa, I was actually creating the limits by my own beliefs, by what I thought was real. And there's more here. And so I can accept that there's more. And so there's a need for a surrender and acceptance loosening the grip and just sort of wrapping your mind around everything that I thought was true or real, was my own belief in something that I was committing to and I was dedicated and loyal to in order to keep me feeling safe and secure, because the opposite would be open, exposed, and not knowing and feeling like floundering, and nobody wants to flounder. And so Spirit's saying, you're not floundering. You're always safe and secure. This feeling might feel very uncomfortable. You might feel as though you're not getting what it is that you're wanting or blocked. And Spirit says, I am going to allow you to experience something so you could see differently, so that you can manifest that in which you're being called to manifest here in this world, because your greater self is someone who is empowered. And this empowerment only comes through an inner wisdom, not from what I know or what is told to me, not from the YouTube videos I'm watching, but from a true diving in experience that I can't unsee, that I can't deny. I might try to make a story. I might get confused because my old self wants to make reasoning. My old self might come up with stories, but when Spirit keeps throwing me in the deep end, at a certain point, I have to surrender. At a certain point, I know I have no control, that Spirit has control. But what I can invest in is how I see the situation and circumstance. That I can invest in. If I see it as something threatening, something trying to control me, or something taking away from me, that means I'm still in a lack mindset. I'm choosing to believe that the universe is in lack, that it's separate, that it is creating some form of loss here, which is untrue. And I can control that part of how I see and perceive, as long as I know that I'm always in perception mode. I'm always in perception mode, and I cannot see through anyone else's eyes or experience, ever. I can only ever see through my own eyes, my own experience, and I can only see and hear, and all the senses, okay, but see and hear that in which my internal world is going to either recognize or not recognize. And that which I don't recognize is not familiar to me. I've never seen it. I've never experienced it. I might not even see it altogether because the veil is so thick. If we see something for the very first time that we don't even understand or see, we don't know what it is. We don't even, sometimes we look right through it. We can't see it. We can't recognize it. But when we see something that we recognize, we all already attach a whole bunch of labels to it, you know? Like if I say apple, you already have an idea what the apple looks like in your mind, what it tastes like, the shape of it. Meanwhile, all of you guys might have a different version of an apple. Some people thought of a gala apple. Some people thought of I don't know, what is it? I don't know the different apples, you know, red apple. Someone saw a yellow apple. Someone saw a green apple. Someone says it's sweet. Someone saw something acidic. Maybe someone saw something very hard. Someone saw crab apple. And so it could mean a bunch of things. And so the mind likes to create the story and the label so that it can deal with the universe and compartmentalize certain things in certain buckets, because it's easier to navigate like a computer. Boop, boop, boop. Apple goes there. This goes there. That's all labels. And that's the veil. The veil is that when I say apple, there's a whole slew of apples. There's no limited amount of apple, like and description of apple. So extrapolate this into the grander scale of your whole life. It's overwhelming. Because apple in this moment might be completely different than apple in the next moment. In this moment could be a crab apple. In the next moment, it could be a different one. Okay, this is an analogy of how we label, and our mind likes to think of certain things, and it really restricts and limits. Okay, so when we say family or when we say relationship, it's like, here, this is what comes to my mind. But it's a very limited thing, and it keeps us playing small because that's the thing I understand. And then I get used to it. Apple, apple, apple. And then all of a sudden, you know, if you see crab apple and all of a sudden I give you this big, juicy gala apple or something, and you're used to crab, you're like, what is this? Like, you know, it's just food. So of course, some of you guys might be open. But if this was like in regards to family or relationship or something like this, or changing your careers or where you live, it's like, whoa, I'm threatened. Crab apple's the truth. This other gala apple, whoa, it's not even, no. And then I'm trying to control. Meanwhile, the universe is putting all these apples in front of you saying, no, you've only ever seen crab, but there's all these strains of apples or variants of apples, a whole bunch. And so is Spirit trying to control you? Is it Spirit trying to take away your crab apple? No. Spirit says, look at all these apples. You've been focused on the crab apple. And I want you to see beyond your limited so you can choose which apple you want. You can go back to the crab, sure. But when you see all the apples out there, you're going to say, why was I dealing with the crab? Why wasn't I dealing with this other? Why wasn't I going to the lemons? Why wasn't I going to the bananas? Why wasn't I going to the whole buffet? And so Spirit wants to put for your vision here, the full buffet, because there is no limitation. The buffet exists, but we're only seeing a small part. And then we tell ourselves, that's the part that's true. That's the part that's me. That's the part that's real. And it says, no. And that's creating your suffering here, okay? Because we're feeling very empty-handed and saying, well, the crab apple was worked for me, so why can I not be happy here? Or why am I not fulfilled? Or why is it not doing the thing it used to? And Spirit's saying, because I want you now to see everything, okay? And it doesn't all just come all at once, or else you'd be totally flooded and completely upside down. But Spirit's going to give you as much as you can control. But I do feel it feels uncomfortable. I do feel like it's putting you out of your comfort zone. I do feel like you're not liking this process. And I do feel like there's an in denial. Because I do feel like a part of you is not happy in the experience you're having, you know? And it's like, I'll just tell myself that this is how it is, that I got to put in more time here, or that I got to save until I'm 60 or retire at that point. Or it's like, no, that's the crab apple analogy, that there's a story that you were fed, that you got to work a certain amount of years, and then this is how you retire, and that's the story. And then I'll be safe and secure, because what will happen to my pension? What will happen if I believe the story that I'm free today? That's all woo-woo stuff. That's all throwing caution to the wind. And Spirit is saying, you believe in the crab apple. And you might push back saying, well, I want to believe in the crab apple because it's giving me security and safety. And Spirit says, no, it's actually an illusion. You're not secure and safe. You're limited and you're suffering in that, because when you finally give into the buffet, I know you're going to be immersed in something that's more pure and authentic. Your full power and your highest potential could come online. Then you could create something from the heart space that's absolutely true here. Then you have free will and conscious choice to choose this thing. And so I feel like there is a vision of a dream and a manifestation somewhere that's being aligned to you. But you must be in the right vibration in order to create this thing, which means all the false ideas and stories must fall away. And the more we attach to those ideas and stories, the more we're creating a controlled environment, thinking we're controlling, but we're just creating limitation and upset and resistance and stuckness. And so things are starting to turn here. And Spirit's saying, whatever is going on in your internal world is the thing that's sort of reconciling first, so that your external world can then align. So you're not, if you're too focused on this outer world, like the right job or the relationship or it aligning, and you're not seeing that, because I don't think you are, Spirit's saying, don't focus on that. Know that your internal world is having to come into a right vibration, right? Alignment, your truer alignment first. And so the internal world we cannot see. The internal world has to come into the right alchemy or the right energy. And then the external world will align and will manifest and will show. And so the internal world right now, I want to remove beliefs. I want to undo certain limitations. I want to show you the truth of what you're actually believing and what's actually true. I want you to feel comfortable with trusting yourself, trusting the divine, confidence in your decision making from a place of seeing clearly, but not from a place of fear or ignorance or what I've always known because it helped me feeling safe and secure, or because society said it was right or proper, or because I had fear of failure or fear of being judged or fear of not doing it right. And so I wanted to do it right. I wanted to do something. And so I paid loyalty to some other story. The older story had had power over me. And so Spirit says, don't lose hope here that you're going to manifest something. And this manifestation has to come from the heart space, and it has to come through, not through a doing, but through an acceptance of reality and truth, which is uncomfortable to do when we are overwhelmed by it, okay? And we might not make sense of it right away. And so there's confusion, or if you want to call it, what's it called? Disorientation. There could be just a lot of fear about it. You know, I feel it's more fear than anything here, because when we are trying to attach, meaning I'm so identified with something, I'm attached to that story, that's really fear that drives this control. Fear is always behind control, because I fear what would happen if I didn't have that there's some form of a loss I can experience. And so the fear makes me attach, the fear makes me identify, the fear makes me think that I'm like, have any power here, because it makes me feel better when I think I have power and I can rest, you know? But it's like, well, you don't really have power over controlling the universe. And when you identify with something, all you're doing is limiting the truth from coming in. And now what Spirit's doing is stripping you of that. So it feels like a loss of control. And so we cling even tighter. And Spirit says, ironically, when you let go of the control, when you don't identify and attach, that's when you're in your full power, because then you can make conscious choices in the present moment. You're no longer tied to the crab apple only when the crab apple appears, and then I don't eat all the rest of the time. Oh, there's a crab apple, I gotta eat it. Meanwhile, Spirit's saying, if you will give up that control and that identification, that attachment, now the buffet shows up and you're in your full power, because you have conscious choice to say, do I want chicken? Do I want turkey? Do I want crab apple? Do I want rice? What do I want? Now I have power. But I had to trust the universe. I had to relinquish control. I had to unidentify. I had to trust this process. And I had to stop being loyal to an old paradigm or an old story of belief that it wasn't necessarily true. It was the false thing. And so I do feel like there's a story you tell yourself. Okay, I use the crab apple, but whatever it is, that's actually not true. And I think it's about yourself. And so this is why you are where you're at in your world. It's like, I have to do X. And X is going to do this for me. No, crab apple story. It might have in the past, and you might have lived that experience, and that's why you believe it so strong. Because it's like, in the past, that's your reality. That's what it's created. But that's like me eating a crab apple and then saying, well, no, gal apples don't exist. All I've ever seen and ate were crab apples. It's like, yeah, that's true. Spirit's not saying it's not true, but Spirit's saying you can eat a whole bunch of other apples, and some more fulfilling. And so I need you to see that there's more. And the only reason I would need you to do this, not to torture you, again, is so that you can create what's actually aligned for you, because your heart is dying to experience this thing. It's your purpose, and it's your time. Okay, so let's get you some advice, although that was advice, but let's just pull Spirit for pile number 1. What is the best guidance and advice pile 1 can sort of sit with here? Because this does feel very challenging, okay? I feel like it's a heart opening, it's seeing the truth, and the truth sometimes feels very challenging when all we know is sort of the mask or the false self, because that gives us a false sense of control. So let's see what Spirit wants you to know. Growing. Today I understand that I am here to learn, to discover, to grow. When I nourish myself with my inner light, my inner divinity grows. When I study the messages that life brings me, I am improved in the eyes of God. When I strike a balance between the material and the spiritual worlds, I am freed of my inner conflicts. In these ways, I grow my own soul. So there's inner growth. Like I said, it's a spiritual awakening. It's my spiritual world. It's growing now. And now it's going to want to be more understood and integrated, so that I could live a more integrated life in the 3D. Okay, like integrated meaning my spirit is now coming into the 3D. It has more presence in the 3D than it did in the past, because now I'm letting it come online. I'm not fighting and resisting it. And so the spiritual self is wanting to be manifest in the 3D. Doesn't want to be sort of a separate entity there. And so the internal world now is working through a lot of misbeliefs and understandings and limitations of yourself. Everything changes. A soft light radiates from my heart, It illuminates those around me and transforms every situation I encounter. I maintain a positive attitude in spite of any difficulties I may perceive. There's that gratitude for what is. Okay, no matter the circumstances, I remain a source of true joy. Everything changes when it is bathed in the light of the divine. And so, like I said, at one point in your channel here, it was like, why doesn't it work what used to work in the past? You know, used to get filled on the crab apples. Or used to do this, it used to. And so now I'm more trying to control it to be what it was or what I believed it to be. And it's like, it doesn't take away from what it was. It's just showing you everything else that also exists here, because everything does change and shifts. And so Spirit is saying, when we're really restricted to something and identified with something, we don't allow there to be change. And that's the cause of our suffering and our pain. It's too rigid, it's too stuck, it's too fixed, it's too identified. And it refuses anything else that contradicts it. It's like, no, that's not true. No, it's going against what I believe in, the loyalty. And it won't be the way it's supposed to be because it has to be a certain way. It's like, no, that creates suffering. Okay, there's a greater truth here. So we have application. Today I apply all that I have learned during my spiritual quest. I practice love in my daily life. I allow my inner lights to lift my thoughts. As I do so, the laws of the universal flow take root in my life. Exactly. So that's manifestation of your spiritual. So what's happening? A spiritual awakening, an internal world is shifting, a paradigm, an understanding of how we see the world, how we see ourselves, how we see our situation. It's completely being turned on its axis so that I can step into my power here in the 3D. Because just being spiritual and experiencing these mystical things is fine, but if I cannot bring it here to the 3D to be of service, to integrate what I've learned, to be awakened and conscious here in the 3D so that I could create. And so you have a purpose to create. We all do, in God's image. Okay, so you're a creator and you're here to create something in the 3D. And Spirit says this will be something coming from the heart, something from the pure self. And so you must integrate into the 3D, that in which you're learning right now, because you're learning this other side. And so we don't want to be premature to create something when we still haven't pierced through the veil. Okay, and so I feel like you're getting balanced. You're seeing behind the veil. You're understanding the spiritual understandings a little bit better within your world, so that when you come create something here in the 3D, it's going to be different than that in which you've already created, or that in which you thought you're needing to be or maintain or do. No, every moment you get to choose to be conscious. This shouldn't be something you're running with, you know? I've been running with this for the last 5 years, 10 years, or ever since I was told that this is how I was. It's like, no, because this present moment has never happened before. So your understanding in this present moment has to be based in the reality of what this present moment is. Nobody could prepare you for this present moment because nobody knows what this present moment is. There's only one present moment, and it's right now. And so there isn't a whole build-up to it. There is no train to tell you what's going to present itself now. There's just being in the now and the authentic self responding to that from a place of authenticity. Otherwise, we're responding from the masked self. And so we're not in reality. We're in a dream. We're in a dream state. We're in delusion. Spirit says, no more delusion for you. You're no longer asleep here, okay? But it's disorientating and it's confusing and it might feel like you have no control. So, beautiful pile number 1, this is your reading. I hope this helped you. If you're called to another reading, I will see you there. All right, bye-bye. Hello, pile number 2. You guys picked the purple pom-pom, and we're looking at your challenge, whatever this may be. Okay, current situation, circumstance, whatever you're dealing with, person, place, thing, and the root of the challenge. What is actually creating this challenge that you may or may not be understanding? So we'll lay these cards out. Okay, so you can use your intuition and ask what you'll see, feel, or hear to determine whether this is your pile, or you could go straight away to the channeled message and we'll see what the truth is here in regards to your challenge. So we have the King of Pentacles in reverse, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. We have the Lovers in reverse, Gemini energy, and we have the Page of Wands. Okay, but it could also be the Knight of Wands in this deck. It just has the Jack. So Knight of Wands or Page of Wands energy. Okay, so we have from the Past Life Oracle, we have Archangel Haniel with 15. 15's devil energy. Capricorn energy, but it says joy, gratitude, and intuition because 15 is also 6. Okay, love. So love is the vibration where we're experiencing joy, gratitude. Okay, but we also have intuition here. So watery energy. I'm getting some a Leo and some Pisces from this card, and some Capricorn energy, and some Gemini. I don't know if I said. And lots of signs already here, okay? And then we have play. And then we have the comfort zone with 56 and 11. 11 is a master number, divine inspiration, synchronicity, the encouragement to keep going. Okay, and then we have bulldozing with 5, forcing our will our way, and somehow here with bulldozing. 5 is Taurus and Sagittarius energy. 11 is Pisces energy and Libra energy coming through. So 5 is all about change, conflict, rebuild. And then we have inheritance here. And this is Saturn in Scorpio, the number 8. So 8 is Leo, Aquarius. Saturn's the ruling planet for Capricorn and Aquarius. So interesting. You see a little maze over here. Inheritance. So sometimes we inherit material. There was my email confirming material things. And sometimes we inherit non-physical things, you know, like traits or certain beliefs that we might inherit from our ancestors. Interesting. I just looked at the time and it says 12:21, so there's mirrored numbers. Okay, that's interesting. And then we have surrender negative thinking. You have control over your thoughts. When negative thoughts surface, say thank you for sharing and quickly refocus on positive affirmations. Yeah, not from a place of bypassing. Okay, but we don't have to feed that thought. We don't have to go into the negative thought like it's true. So we might have inherited some form of understanding about ourselves or about how we think that might be controlling our world here. Okay, and then we have welcoming failures, 48 and 3 with the solar plexus energy, purification path, ego level. It says detaching from the result, redefining success, being authentic, telling the truth, rebalancing your life, detaching from objects. Type 3, the achiever, emotional center between appearing and authenticity. This is pretty much the message for pile 1. And I do suggest 1, you go listen to 1 if you're here, okay? If you recall for sure, then there's most likely a message there for you. But I did feel when I was laying these cards out that 1 and 2 seem to overlap or be connected. I'm going to get my robe actually because I'm really cold. I'll be right back. All right. So I was feeling cold all of a sudden. But yeah, this is heavy energy from pile 1. Okay. This whole thing sort of seems to be a continuation message. So we'll see. And then we have avoidance. Face what you fear, for avoidance is but a temporary refuge. Evasion, neglect, and denial. Okay. And then we have Neptune, number 9. So Neptune, ruling planet for Pisces. Strong Neptunian energy came through pile 1 as well. Okay, and 9 is the hermit energy, which is the introspection, healing through reflection, having to plunge in to find the truths amongst maybe fantasies, or through plunging through our emotions and our fears, okay, because watery energy with this Neptune. So I'm feeling Cancer energy pulling through as well with the 9. And then we have Uranus and Pluto. Wow. 61. So I'm getting the awakening, you know, spiritual awakening. It could be we're slowly understanding, well, not slow, nothing slow about Uranus, but when we slowly start to see beyond or behind the veil, it's like our paradigm is sort of crashing down with this Uranus. It's like nothing could ever be the same here with Uranus energy. It feels very much like a tower, an awakening of what we can't unsee. And we're getting a lot of downloads, lots of energy here, okay? Wow, feels like a spiritual awakening or a dark night of the soul, or like going through this profound awakening. 61 and 7. That's all over pile 1 as well. I just heard the Great Awakening. Wow. Okay, and then we have spider energy, co-creating with the universe. And then we have the house of, or the third house. So the third house is all about the mind, thinking, communication. It's also the siblings, social activity or interests or neighbors, early education. So it says your ideas, short-term thinking and trips, who or what is around you. And it also says by making the right connections, the idea in question, and get your ideas going. So we know when we're going through an awakening of sorts, or coming out of the mind or the thought that kept us trapped and limited, so that we can create with the universe. Okay, ignorance, intellectual disability, lack of culture, nothingness, interior void, and uneducation. Social engagement type 5, the observer thinking center between interior and exterior. So we have some Taurus and then some Sagittarius here with the 23 and 5. Avoidance, ego level. So avoidance coming through twice. We might not see ourselves as avoidant necessarily, okay, because we could be in ignorance. I'm not avoidant. The person I'm dealing with is avoidant, or this thing, you know. It could be the understanding we have, but we're avoiding some great truth here. All right, scholar, deep knowledge. Okay, this 5 energy is Hierophant, which is about knowledge, deep knowledge. So that's the hermit energy, because the deep knowledge could be an inner understanding. Okay, visionary, realism, that came through for pile 1, also with the heart chakra. Erudition, specialist, and concentration. Type 7, the enthusiast thinking center between pleasure and pain with integration, growth level. We talked about an integrated self in pile 1. Sorry, I have to refer to pile 1 because that's sort of what was coming through. So I'm going to channel. You guys can skip ahead because I'll put a timestamp to take you straight away to the channeled message. As I fidget with this so I could get it in a position that helps me to channel. And I will see you guys at that channel message. Okay. Okay, pile number 2, I strongly feel like pile 1 and 2 could definitely be similar energy, okay? Could be different parts of what you're experiencing. Okay, it almost seems like just a continuation, and both could definitely be overlapping. So I do suggest you go over there because there's a lot that I'm channeling that I'm not going to say again that it does fall for this pile as well, for sure. Okay, and there could be sort of truths in both piles here that apply to you depending where you are in your journey, because this definitely feels, obviously, I mean, tarot and this channel is all about spiritual. Okay, but this feels like a spiritual awakening to that which is true here, and it feels disorientating. So let me just say some signs, although there seems to be a lot here, okay? But we have Cancer, we have Sagittarius and Taurus, and we have some Libra energy, some Capricorn energy, and some Gemini, Virgo, Taurus, and some Pisces. Yeah, and Scorpio. Okay, predominantly in this pile. Oh, 88's a master number, and I think I missed that and when I laid the cards down. So 88 is a higher calling that is grounded in self-awareness and reverence for life. That's essentially the bulk of this whole thing. What does that even mean, Linda? Or spirit, if you want to say spirit, okay, what I'm channeling here. So spirit is pulling through with your internal world. Connects you to spirit, connects you to the unseen, the intuition, okay, the spiritual realms, the dream state, the ethers, whatever you want to call it, the unseen. There's an opening here. There's an awakening coming online here. Your challenge is having to navigate through a process here that we don't necessarily fully understand, that might make us feel a certain way. And it only makes us feel a certain way because we still have a strong attachment or way of believing and thinking that creates our suffering. And so it is that in which you are actually thinking is going to provide you with some form of healing or some form of comfort is what's creating your suffering. And we could say, how could it create suffering when that is familiar, when that is comfort, when that is stable, when that is grounded? And for me, it felt very familiar. And so therefore, it should be safe. Therefore, it should make me feel a certain way. And Spirit's saying, why that's the challenge, the comfort zone, is because in this process, I want you to see beyond what you already know and understand, because it's a small aspect. There's an understanding you have that's been given to you, handed to you through your experience, through your family, through generational handing downs of ancestral patterns, okay, even humans, societal. And so you have beliefs and understandings that you don't even question, that creates your choices and your decisions and your programming and your thoughts about who you are and what you've come here to do. And when you cannot experience that in which you feel you're needing to do because you're very identified with that story, you start to tell yourself it's not successful, or you're not getting what you want, or you experience disappointment and lack. Rejection, disappointment, failure, it's not coming together. And so this welcoming failure doesn't say, oh, I'm a failure, I might as well accept that I'm going to be empty-handed, or that I can't create, or that I'm not a billionaire, or that I'll never be in the line with the right career, or that I'm going to have to accept some shortcoming. No. This is saying, when I see beyond the illusion of my thought, when I'm very restricted in my mind, that story, and I detach from that story, then I start to create things even bigger and better than that in which I was sort of attached to. Because I have an understanding of something that I wanted to create, or a result of something. And that would require me to be in the self that I inherited, or the false self, the egoic self, the protective self, the comfort zone self. And I'm trying to force my way, my will, through a doing. And when the doing doesn't align and it doesn't happen, guess who's left standing there? Me. But it wasn't really me that was trying to force my will, my way. It was my ego. My ego is a part of my mind. It's just an activity of the mind. And the ego will tell you all sorts of things, because its main function is to attach to what it wants with desire. And so it chases and attaches, and there's always some outcome that it needs in order for it to say, I've done this, I'm successful, I feel valued, and it's short-lived. And the ego's other function is to protect you and to resist and avoid and deny and not go near anything that might be threatening, even if it's not threatening. But the ego creates this threat because it needs to be very highly sensitive. It needs to keep you protected. So if there's any risk at all, I ain't going to explore that. They need to protect you. And so I come online and I tell you, don't do that. Too much risk. And so I won't let you believe in that, so you don't get hurt or threatened, because the ego won't want it. But the minute you sort of have a result, the ego is first to sort of have that inner chatter to tell you, see, you're the one, you failed, you didn't do it, you're lacking, you're missing, you don't have this, you don't understand that. The ego voice is doing that. And so we say, who is this voice within me that's telling me that I'm lacking, telling me that I'm not good enough, telling me that I have shortcomings, telling me that there's some better version that I could attain or experience that I can't quite reach? Who is doing this? It's not you. It's your ego. It's this thought, this program that's running in your mind that is telling you some story. And as long as you buy what the ego's selling you, as long as you believe in that story, you're avoiding the truth. Spirit's trying to wake you up with the truth. Spirit wants you to be authentic. Spirit wants you to detach from stories and understandings and chasing desires with ego. Spirit wants you to know that certain programs and beliefs have been handed to you, and you're having to navigate through this maze to find the true version of you, not from a doing, because there's nothing to do. You can't heal yourself. You can only be open to that in which Spirit is giving to you so you could see the truth. So there's no forcing healing. There's no forcing enlightenment. There's no forcing, because we could apply this to whatever path you're on. Okay, this could be in the matrix world. I got to become the CEO. I got to chase this thing. I got to have this perfect life, this ideal home or this ideal relationship. And I'm attached to that outcome and that thing because I believe that that's how I have to be or how success looks. Okay, but we can apply it to even spirituality. If there's an enlightened version of me that's not an ego, that's more pure, that's more, whatever you want to say, more spiritual or more, no, that's the doing. It's still detached from that, which is the truth. The truth is that Spirit acts through you, and the ego is the veil, and it creates all sorts of resistance, and it creates a story in the mind that isn't true, that sort of deviates, and it avoids and suppresses and attaches and chases the things in which it wants. So Spirit says, no more egoic thinking and desires chasing rat race, okay, in the maze, because we'll forever be on the pendulum. The ego makes us celebrate when we're sort of on the hill of success because we attain the car, the person, the material thing, and then we think I'm the one who's done this. I mean, well, it's like, no, this is Spirit, okay? But then the ego will be very disappointed very quickly because it's very short-lived and chasing the next thing. And it's these pendulum swingings of hills and valleys, hills and valleys, hills and valleys forever when we're in the egoic mind. Okay? And when we don't get what we want, we sort of beat ourselves up here, and the ego sort of doesn't take any accountability on that, sort of points the finger, and you're left beating yourself up here. Okay, so Spirit is saying, I want you to see the truth. And so you're having an awakening here, and you're really shining your light on the darkness or the shadow part here. And so where you've been sort of ignorant or asleep, now ignorance isn't an insult. Ignorance just means I'm not aware, I don't know, I don't have the knowledge. I'm lacking the understanding. And when I lack the understanding, I cannot be in my authentic self. I can't walk my truth. I can't see the truth. I can't speak the truth and take action on the truth of who I am and what I'm about, because I've always believed what was told to me or what I've been programmed to believe, and left me in the maze of the matrix or the maze of my life, and that creates my suffering. And so even though we could call it the comfort zone, it's also the limiting bubble, the limited perspective, the limited outcomes that experience, because when I'm in this maze, I can only experience certain corners of this world and I can't extend past it. And everyone would choose to be able to experience happiness today, joy today, gratitude today, if they could. Everyone. No one's going to say, no, I choose suffering. Let me stay in the suffering. Let me stay in the limitation, please. Let me stay in confusion. Nobody would choose this. But this is what we're doing because we're saying we're confusing this with the comfort zone, but it's really the limitation. The comfort zone is the narrow mindset, the all that I believe, everything I'm attached to is the comfort zone. And Spirit says, I don't want you to be in the comfort zone because it's limiting. It's what's keeping you sort of hostage, trying to find your way through a maze. And there's a whole other world here that exists. And I want you to be of that, to experience that. Because there your true calling is. There you'll feel joy. There you'll feel peace. That's where I'm guiding you to. And so your material world right now, whatever stage you're at, and I do feel for a lot of you guys, you've already developed something, a community, a job place you've been invested in for a long time. You might have developed a sense of security in yourself in the material world. And you might feel like it's at risk or there's a threat here, it's like, oh, it's a threat, because I've always believed that to create security and the material wealth and success and gain, it has to be done a certain way. This is what I believed. And therefore, when I'm being called to do the other thing, the other way, it's like, whoa, now my material thing is at risk. And Spirit's saying, no, there's no material nothing at risk here. There's only gain in this experience. Your mind would have you believe otherwise. And when it starts to feel like there's something at threat here, like your world's going to fall apart here, or that there's a material deconstruction, then we're going to attach again to the comfort zone, because it's like, no, I want to hang on to what it was that was making me feel okay. And it's like Spirit saying, no, that's forcing outcome. That's attaching to some form of result here, because the result would be what? I want to maintain security at all costs, or I want to keep the structure alive, but it's a belief. It's a narrow understanding of something. And Spirit says, this whole guidance that I've been giving you, this awakening, these signs, symbols, synchronicities, dreams, intuitive nudges, messages, whatever, tarot readings you've been listening to, the guidance, everything I've been giving to you is so that you can become conscious and choose. And you keep sort of choosing the path that you know, which is really the path of fear, because the ego fears losing what it's built. The ego fears the material world will then be no longer available. It feels like death to the ego. And it is death to the ego. Why? Because we're having a spiritual awakening, which means the ego must be seen through. It's like, no, I don't want to be seen through. I got to protect you. My role is to protect you, and so I don't want to go anywhere. And so the ego is going to create all sorts of variants of itself to stay alive in your mind, even the spiritual ego. The understanding it comes with this identity of the spiritual self to protect you. You don't need any identity, okay? This doesn't mean you're a robot. This doesn't mean you don't have any preferences. This doesn't mean that you're like everyone else. Okay, in fact, you have a very unique fingerprint here. The authentic self comes from the heart space. It doesn't come from egoic desires. It doesn't come from fears. It doesn't come from pre-program. Now, of course, we're all predispositions through our genetics. Okay, but we don't choose what family we're born into or what part of the world. That's all part of who we sort of are here. Okay, but when we're in program and asleep, it's like that part of me just comes online and makes decisions. It's acting in sleep mode. It's not a conscious decision, so I can't really choose. And I think I'm choosing. I think I'm in control. The ego thinks it has control. The ego thinks it's safe. The ego thinks it's making a choice based on its knowing and understanding, and that it's really free. Meanwhile, it's like, no, you're not in a conscious choice. You're in a pre-programmed making decisions based on what the ego feels is fear, and it wants to resist, and it has aversion and avoidance, and it's really an ignorance, and then attaches to that which is comforting. And so it never gets outside of that maze that we know, or that experience of within its confines. Yes, we could apply it to different experiences for sure, because you had different experiences, but they're all within the same sort of framework of understanding. And Spirit says, this is now beyond this framework of understanding of what you inherited, because you've been ignorant to the truth. Okay, and like I said, I'm not saying you're an ignorant person when it comes to someone who refuses to see. This is like the ignorance is I don't understand. I haven't been privy of seeing and understanding, because up until now, the fear has been driving, and the avoidance of anything outside of that would mean I'm exposed. And so it's our human nature to stick to the comfort zone, and then to be the doer and push our way or will in a direction and have what we want, because that means success. It's like, no. So there's a need to detach from the understanding of the material world that you've created in some way. And so I don't know if you're sticking to a certain lifestyle, a certain job, a certain ideology, belief of something that's been pre-established, or specifically when it comes to self. Because this isn't saying give away all your money, sell all your homes, leave all your jobs. Not necessarily. This is saying the spiritual work and understanding, working through, seeing the truth, is an internal state. And once you see the truth, the authenticity behind this, the reasons why you've done what you've done, then you have the choice whether you want to leave this, or whether you want to deconstruct this or create something new. But to the spiritual side must be understood, because I feel there's something about play here, meaning Spirit wants you to experience a whole other chapter of your life. And to experience this new chapter of your life, it's going to be like a child, not like somebody who's under duty, not like somebody who is responsible to this structure, who has to be pre-planning, for some form of later retirement, because it's the only thing, or like some world that's like only the only way it can live, the only way it can be safe. Because then you die, and then what? Do you take your money with you? No. And so there's more to life than this material plane. This doesn't mean the material plane isn't valued or isn't something that we need to make sure that we're healthy, because of course you live here in the 3D. But this is trusting that through connecting to the divine and my spirit here, I could come with a childlike nature to create more of a solid 3D world that's more aligned with me. I don't have to buy someone else's story, 9 to 5, or this other world that I was living in. It's not your truth. All of our truths cannot be exactly the same. 9 to 5, wake up, go to work, build our future, retire, die. No, this is on a global scale. Like I said, this 88, okay? A higher calling that is grounded in self-awareness and reverence for life. So when I'm self-aware, when I'm no longer ignorant, when I'm no longer in avoidance, when I'm no longer under the belief of the mind, then I'm ready to play. And what I can do is I can manifest from the heart, my spiritual, here in the 3D, something secure and stable. So the play doesn't equate to throwing the baby out with the bathwater, being immature, and all of my material wealth now is gone and my security. This is saying through the experience of innocence, through the experience of following our joy and our passion, we create stability and security. Believe in this because it's true, because there's something here Spirit wants you to create from the heart space, and it's coming to you through Spirit. Like, I don't know, you're getting nudges about where you're supposed to go and be and do. So this could really be like, for an example here, for a lot of you guys, it could be there's this dream, this passion, this idea that comes to me, but it seems very out there or very spiritual. And the real world says I have to do the 9 to 5, or the real world is this is my job because it pays the bill. And we even hear spiritual people being like, yeah, so just, when you don't quit your day job, don't do anything here that's going to create lack and scarcity. It's like, that's still an ego belief. It's like there is no do's and don'ts. Like when we already have do's and don'ts, it's inherited, and Spirit is saying, I'm not giving you a list of do's and don'ts. I'm giving you just a truth so that you can see the truth and align yourself with the truth. There is no do's and don'ts. There's either the truth or the absence of the truth. There's either you know the truth or you're ignorant to the truth. That's all. That's all there is in polarity. There's no in between. And so there's the truth that you're having to align with. And I say having to because it's your destined purpose. And you're either aligned with the destined purpose or you're not. And when you're not, you're living someone else's sort of world. And I feel like you're living someone else's world right now. And you're not aligned with your truth. So this doesn't mean everyone should quit their day jobs and just play all day. Your message, because you're divinely guided, you're getting sign, symbol, synchronicities, you're the ones getting downloads, you're the one who's awakening here. And Spirit saying, for you, I am telling you what the truth is. And you're not either wanting to believe it or see it, or right now you're still in your mind about it because of the fact that you're still under the belief of some egoic understanding that has been given to you. And I'm asking you to surrender that in which is in the 3D world that's giving you comfort right now that you think you need, or you need to be, or you need to keep building, or you need to invest in. That when you do enter the energy of play, exploration here to this new world that you might think is hard to believe or seems different than what you're used to, this is where you're going to manifest and create this beautiful 3D experience that's very secure and stable. That's your idea of what security and stability look like is actually an ignorance to the truth. That yes, this is in the 3D, but it's very narrow. It was very much an understanding that was inherited to you through an experience, and it doesn't make it wrong. It's just misaligned to your destiny. So your dharmic path is blocked because you're being awakened to have conscious choice. And of course, Spirit's never going to force you down a different path, but destiny is destiny and your purpose is calling. And Spirit's saying, I'm calling you to create. So your environment is misaligned. No matter how much you've seen it or believe that it was something of value in some way in the material world, it was lacking something. Comfort zone means it's little, it's restricted, it's lacking something, it's lacking growth, it's lacking maybe fun or freedom or like the joy or the inner child or the rewarding part of it. And Spirit says, I don't want you to stay in lack and littleness because you're ignorant to that. It's like when someone gets arrested and they're like, I didn't know the laws, and they get arrested anyway because they're like, well, your ignorance doesn't mean that you can go kill people or do whatever. It's just because we're ignorant to it doesn't give us a green light to stay in it. And so this is what Spirit is saying, is like, you've been ignorant to a greater truth, and you've been stuck in this egoic belief and understanding, which doesn't feel good because it feels like when success isn't happening or a restriction, we believe that it's something to do with us, that we're the ones falling short, or we're the ones that need to be different then. So maybe I need to learn something. Maybe I need to do it different. No, you don't. There's nothing you need to manipulate or do here. Spirit says you just need to see and observe, because the truth is being shown to you without distortion, without you having to pretzel yourself in different ways here. Okay, but we got to let go of that in which we might have been clinging to or believing or understanding is like where the answer lies, because this is a form of avoidance of stretching ourselves or being open to the unknown or going somewhere where it might seem like risk. And so it's just like, no, I'll just believe the old story or that other paradigm here. And so Spirit says there's some idea, which I do feel is like a masterpiece of sorts, you're being called to create here in the 3D. And you're being fed this knowledge through Spirit that not everyone is privy to, because it's very unique to you. And once you have this knowledge through an inner experience of wisdom, then you're being called to create this thing, this vision, and manifest this thing in the 3D. And so what's getting in your way and the challenge is the belief in some other story here that's not in truth. It's the absence of truth. And the truth is that, yes, Spirit is giving you messages and information. Yes, you are distorting how this information comes through because you're going in your mind right away about it, and you're trying to perceive it in a certain way. And Spirit's not blaming you, but when you only know how to perceive with the mind and run like the mind is true and the story is true, we're missing everything else. And Spirit says there's a part of this that isn't going to conceptually be filtered through the mind. There's a part of this that the mind is going to want to reject and fight against because it's trying to protect you. It's trying to protect its 3D. And Spirit is saying there's a part that needs to trust in the divine, trust in your path, trust in this leaning into something here that the heart is wanting to develop that might not necessarily make logical sense. And so we're having to detach from an understanding or the result in which our ego tells us this is successful and this isn't. This is the way and this isn't, because we don't know. Spirit knows. Okay, and so I feel like you might be, because I'm reading for a lot of people here, it might seem like you're in a different part of this path, because I do feel there's a lot of people who might be in the void right now, who might have already like detached potentially from some parts of this unfoldment, but there's still attachments to others. And so this is still that picking and choosing, like, okay, this I could part with, or this. It's like, until we're completely in the present moment without the attachment and the identification, until we're actually authentic, we're still in ignorance, because we can't say, well, I'm in partial truths here and the rest is sort of, it's like either you're in a truth and that's reality, or you're in an untruth, which is not reality and it's dream. So are we in illusion or are we in reality? And Spirit says we cannot create the thing that I'm calling you to create when we're in partial truths and still we're asleep. This requires a full, authentic being, knowing and understanding a truth. Because only through the authentic self can we create this thing. The ego isn't being called to create this thing. The false self isn't being called to create this thing, no matter how successful you are. Because I feel a lot of you guys might be very successful here, or maybe you're wanting success. You want that life. It's like, how do I build a financial stability and security, And so you're feeding the machine in which you think is the means in which you'll get there. And Spirit says, no more feeding that machine. Either it worked in the past and it's no longer going to be it, or your internal self thinks that that's where it's found, but that was just told to you. And where you will find abundance and success for you, that's going to stand the test of time is when you step outside of your own mind and what has been told to you and understood by you and follow this dream. This is this beautiful creation. And stop avoiding or being ignorant of this truth. Because this inner knowing is going to give you unwavering confidence in yourself to build this thing. It will be successful. Okay, and you might need the right people and support around you. And so Spirit's going to make the right people and environment around you for this. Otherwise, you'll just sort of stay stuck in the maze, you know, with the dead-end job or the dead-end people or people who don't support or believe you, and then start to believe those lies. And it could just be the internal aspect of yourself, which I do feel it is. But it's like the parental voice or the negative voice, you know, the old beliefs paradigm. And it's like, no, that's what's creating the structure. That's what's creating the challenge. And you might feel it's creating some form of structure, some form of safety and security. And it's like, yeah, but it's also limiting you. It's not letting this dream come online. Spirit wants you to create the dream from a conscious place of seeing the truth. Okay. And so you're intuitively guided to do so. This thing's going to bring you a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. You might already know what this thing is because I do feel you're already seeing and understanding some of it, but you're still not sure how to get there or why you're experiencing disappointment. Okay, so let's just see. Or you might just be projecting that you're lacking something. Not ready yet. I'm not good enough. I still need the schooling. I still need the experience. I still need. It's like, no, you'll forever be on that train. You're never ready enough. Never. Because of that mind thought. And so that mind thought's the thing that needs to go away. And then you're ready. So you're ready right now. Okay, so let's see. What's the guidance and the advice here for pile number 2? What is the absolute guidance and advice that is going to help pile 2 here at this time? Okay, is there another? Well, Spirit's saying if these are okay. So let's go with these. Return to the inner temple. Today I rediscover my inner self in sacred silence. This is the inner temple in which I am able to calmly study the lessons life has provided me. Exactly. Okay, so here I regain my sense of tranquility. I retrieve my trust in the universe. Bathed in the light of my inner temple, I now remember the value of each day and every step of my life. So I just need to get centered again. What is the great truth? The great truth sits within you, but you must be quiet enough to hear it, see it, and get centered with it. It's not from the external, okay? And only can you connect to the divine in the internal world in order for there to be a manifestation in the external. So it comes from the inside out, okay? Truth, exactly. So there's either the truth or the illusion. Like I said, there's no in between. Truth. Today I discover my greatest truth is within me. It is a divine force that whispers from my inner self. I listen to this voice closely, putting aside my controlling mind. In this way, I find all the answers I am looking for. I am now in harmony with myself, and I welcome the love of God, which is the truth that will guide me towards my fullest, most shining radiance, your purpose, your dharma. Spirit wants you to see this. You have to get still in order to see this. You must see through the illusion or the false self to see this. You won't see it if you're distorted. So there's only one truth, and it can't be shown through the mind, because if we're trying to use the mind to understand it, we're using the inherited, distorted thing that we've carried. It's like, I'll use the ego and that could be the inherited thing. You know, we all carry ego because it's inherited to us through many, 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 many generations, and it's kept us safe. And now we're evolving, and it's like, I'm going to take this ego, this inherited thing that I have, and it's obviously there for a reason, but it's there for a reason. But as we change, as we become more spiritual beings, divine beings here on earth, we're needing less and less of this survival ego, of this separation consciousness. We're becoming more conscious, more spiritual, which is beyond the mind. It's connected to spirit. We're seeing greater truth. So we must connect to the truth of who we are in order for us to be of service in this 3D world. Spirit wants you to sit with the truth and see the truth. The truth does not come from the mind and the ego. Never does. And it may contradict what we think, you know, and that's why we can't just sit in the mind to make it reconcile in the mind. It will never work. We're bulldozing some form of truth rather than allowing this truth to sort of be marinated and trusted. Trust in this truth that Spirit's trying to tell you. Okay, simplicity. Look at you guys got simplicity. Didn't you get simplicity here? Maybe it was pile 1. Simplicity. Today I choose to simplify my life. As I do so, my burdens lighten. I release my ego's need to understand exactly what I said, to prove and to control. Control could be this bulldozing. Control could be clinging and attaching to comfort zone. Instead, I undertake every task with an open, humble heart, seeing through the eyes of a child. Did I not say? Childlike wonder, Spirit wanted you to be in. Okay, I discover life in all its wonder and simplicity. As the complications of chaos in the mind fall away, I remember I am one with the light. Mic drop. Beautiful reading. Awakening to your true divinity here, okay? Through an innocence, through a trust, not through avoidance. And whatever you were ignorant of is now being shown to you. And the more you sort of see this truth, because it is the truth, the more the ego is going to want to fight it, and the more the ego is going to want to get in the mind, and it's going to want to make up a story why it's not, why it's this, why it's that. It's like, no, that's the inherited ego. That's the mind story that's creating the suffering. That's the negative self-speak, or the ego is going to create this lost sort of energy, okay? Because it's either going to win or it's going to lose. The ego wants to win, and it doesn't want to lose at all costs because it's life-threatening. That's what the ego does. It wants to survive. And so everything's either a win or a loss. And Spirit's saying, no, that's not a truth. The truth is that there is something you're supposed to be experiencing here. Don't let the ego sort of fear you into making decisions here. Okay, like fear you into attaching or clinging or feeling safe, and then also attach you to forcing certain things and outcomes and getting stuck in that sort of mindset. That's not going to help you. But truly being from this heart space will allow you to create something very solid and stable here that is financially rewarding, but I feel like more so it is spiritually rewarding. It's going to provide you with gratitude, joy, peace, comfort. And once you sit in this truth, it's like, it feels very, very beautiful. It doesn't feel very, like you're out of control, you know? Like you're at the mercy of something else here, okay? But I feel like we have been avoiding this truth because the ego was louder and the fear was louder and our need to control was louder. And now we're understanding it through an inner experience, and we might want to deny it and suppress it, or we might just fall back into the habitual mind again, because that's been the program. I keep going. I inherited this monkey mind, or this mind that I keep going in. And Spirit just says, just be aware. That's just pattern. It'll fall away eventually. Sit with the truth. Sit with your divine essence. Sit with the purity. Sit with the calmness. Sit with that in which is true. Because either you're in line with truth or you're in line with distortion and untruths. Which is it? It's up to you. And we'll know, because if it creates suffering, if it creates lack, if it creates a feeling of disappointment, rejection, failure, that is not true. The universe knows that you're all-encompassing. God cannot be failure. God cannot be rejection. God cannot be lack. God is omnipresent. God is omnibenevolent. God is omnipotent. God is all things. And so it cannot be lack. And you are an extension of the Creator, which means you encompass all things, regardless of what your mind tells you. That's the ignorance. And so Spirit says, I will remove this veil, because the truth is you are all these things. And the mind and the ego want you to think otherwise. And so when you're feeling lack, when you're feeling like you're not getting what you want, like you're feeling failure or unsuccessful, and know that that's an untruth, and that's the universe waking you up saying, hey, you're giving back into this negative thinking, the untruth, the distortion. Okay, you're giving into the untruth, the illusion, the distortion, the ego mind. And it's just your job to say, okay, thank you, ego, you're trying to protect me, and then redirect it to what is true. And what is true is God. What is true is love. What is true is giving, expansive, and it feels very aligned, okay? It doesn't feel like it's taking away from you, or that you have to be someone you're not. That's ego. That's trying to fit a mold in some way, okay? So this takes time to sit in this energy and recognize it as truth, because it is truth. It just feels unfamiliar, and it's not in the comfort zone that we know. We're used to challenging and resisting and avoiding and chasing. And so it's like, no, when the body is still, it's like, whoa, I don't know this energy. It feels unfamiliar. Can I trust it? Can I trust the Spirit? It's like, yes, this is the inner temple. This is where it's still. This is where you'll find the truth. Only here you'll find the truth. Okay, and then when you do this, then you're open to creating this beautiful thing Spirit wants you to create. So, beautiful angel, this is your reading. I hope this helped you, and I will see you guys at the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, pile number 3, gorgeous angels. You guys picked this deep red marker with the pom-pom on it, and we're asking Spirit about your challenging situation, circumstance. Okay, it could be a thing you're experiencing in your internal world. It could be a person, place, thing in your external world, whatever this greatest challenge is. And we're looking at the root of the issue or the problem itself and the truth of this thing. Okay, so we have pre-shuffled oracle cards. I've not looked at these, and the best way to develop your intuition is to sit through this card layout. Okay, and ask Spirit what you'll see, feel, or hear to determine whether this is your message or not. If you're already developed your intuition, you can go straight away to the channeled message. So let's take a look at the truth of your challenge here. Okay, so we have Fortune, which is the Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. This Wheel of Fortune is number 9, which isn't traditional in tarot. So there might be the Wheel of Fortune in this deck, because I know this deck doesn't have standard, and then just Fortune, because this is 9, and the Wheel of Fortune is 10. Interesting. Okay, but I'm getting Jupiter energy. Jupiter is a ruling planet for Sagittarius Pisces. Then we have the Madman. And then we have the Emperor. My goodness, right by the Madman. Could be Divine Masculine shadow here for sure, but we'll see. And we have the 8 of Clubs, which is 8 Wands. 8 Wands is all about breakthroughs, movements, communication, travel. It could be releasing our strategy. Okay, but these 8 Wands are crossed here, so it's interesting. 4 Wands, 4 Wands. So 4 Wands is celebration. 4 Wands could be a union of sorts, but here we're seeing an X, like a block almost here. And then we have the Knight of Clubs. Knight of Wands, and is in reverse. Okay. So Aries, strong fire here for sure. Very strong fire. Leo, Sagittarius energy. Okay, we have education, learning, and teaching. So feeling Hierophant energy from this. Could be formal. This is university, so schooling. But it could just be the school of life with education, what we understand intellectually. Okay, but Fortune here, like I said, I was getting Wheel of Fortune, which is the divine experience. Could be a karmic understanding or a karmic lesson here of learning and teaching. Okay, 24 or 6, and 6 is lovers, and 6 is devil energy. So we have some Gemini, some Taurus, and some Capricorn energy. Okay, we have acceptance, and we have free will. 11. 11 is a master number, divine inspiration, synchronicity, the encouragement to keep going. And when we are in free will, this means we see everything as it is, which means I accept everything sort of as it is. I'm not trying to fight it. I'm not trying to contort it. Okay, interesting. So I'm getting some Pisces and some Libra energy with this 2 or 11. 48. 12, more Pisces here. Scarcity. So scarcity is when I believe there is lack. I believe in separation. I believe that I am without. I believe that there's being with and being without. Okay, that's a scarcity mindset, that there's limitation. That either I could be winning or I could be losing. Okay, so we believe in the duplicity of life in some way, okay? Like, obviously there's contrast, but we don't have to believe that we're only in one or the other, that both exist. And if both exist, that means everything exists. The dark, the light, and everything in between is sort of happening, okay? Very interesting. So that's Hangman energy, change of perspective. So we have Sun in Virgo with health, and another 6. So 2 6s here. Okay, but Sun is enlightenment. This is more divine masculine energy. Health. So is it spiritual health? Is it physical health? Is it mental health? Is it the health of something in the 3D, or the health of our own perception? The health of our mind? The health of how we perceive the universe? Surrender low self-esteem. You deserve success, love, and abundance. Set an intention to identify and release any remnants of low self-esteem. And look at the sunflower and the sun. And I think yesterday we had a reading at the sunflower and the sun, same analogy. It's like the sunflower is going to either face the sun, or the sunflower, it has no sun, so it starts to face the shadow. And then it starts to sort of droop. So it's either going to face enlightenment, truth, and clarity, or it's going to face the shadow and it's going to contract and feel the opposites, which is scarcity. Okay, the two worlds, truth, reality, godlike energy, or the shadow, absence, and scarcity. Okay, so being perfect, 1, veil of ignorance with the silver here, which is not seeing our full potential here, understanding the full potential, ego level, being perfect, perpetual dissatisfaction, critical judgment of self. We could be projecting, okay, rigidity, austerity, unexpressed anger, madman, difficulty having fun. Type 1, the perfectionist, instinctive center between control and letting go. Acceptance means I don't need to control anything here. Controlling with the Emperor. Okay, and then we have shame. So shame is a shadow aspect of self that creates projection, creates judgments. If I don't accept all of myself, then I create and cast judgments and project onto other. And so embrace your flaws. They're not even flaws, by the way. It's like embrace all of yourself. Don't reject certain parts of yourself, seeing them as flaws. If you see it as a flaw, then you're telling yourself you're already in lack. So let's embrace your flaws. I don't like the way it's worded here because it's not a flaw. It's like the perception that it is a flaw, or that it's lacking, or that it's less than, or that it's not measuring up will perpetuate more of this belief. There is no lack. There is no flaw. It just is what it isness. And either I accept what is and live in reality, or I live in illusion and separation, and I create this belief. And then I'm asleep. I'm in the veil. I'm not understanding reality. Shame. Okie dokie. Then we have sulfur. So sulfur is going to allow there to be this 8 of Wands energy because it's a breakthrough. It's like allowing whatever has been stuck or blocked in order to release. 29, another 11. So we have 11 here. Very spiritual energy pulling through your pile, pile number 3. Well, they're all very spiritual today, but 11 to me is sometimes can signify the union. Okay, so union of you with other, union with parts of self. This is divine masculine coming into his full balanced self. Okay, Mercury. So Mercury is the planet of mind. It's the planet of how we express our thoughts, what is spoken and unspoken. Okay, but Mercury is also very able to adapt here in some way, very analytical. So we have 20 with Mercury. It feels like someone very much in the mind here. Okay, but 2s are all about balance. 2s are all about duality, choices, polarity, contrast. Squirrel. So squirrels plan and prepare. And they could be very, very busy, you know. They could be like keeping busy in some way here to do something. So this being perfect could be I'm preparing or planning for a future rather than maybe even be in the present moment. I'm more concerned with how this will appear or something, but it's really driven from this lack mindset or this shame mindset. Okay, and then we have the 4th house. So 4th house is all about home, roots, family, self-care. We have health here. Okay, emotions, foundations, mother, children, women, femininity. And it says, as you did in the past, your home base or your family, do what makes you feel secure. What makes you feel secure, support, or your home-based family? 4th house, okay. So it could be your vessel with this health here and this roots and foundation, feeling secure in yourself. Then we have 34 and 7, rationalization. That's really this Mercury. Okay, logical justification, explanation, reasoning, reasoning, idealization, sublimation, intellectualization. Type 7, the enthusiast thinking center between pleasure and pain. What the 7 here? 7 is Cancer energy. Okay, Chariot, which is the integration shadow. This is having success with the universe, having faith, wisdom, reflection, understanding, spirituality, intellect, personal growth, solitude. Heart chakra with the green, but this Cancer energy. Okay, but it's like battling the mind here, because everything that I was reading here with the 7 goes against this justification of the mind or the logic and the intellectualization. So we have projection. Okay, 33 is a master number. Reproduction, creativity, humor, Christ consciousness, joy, harmony, projection, expulsion from yourself. When I create scarcity, I'm actually separating myself from other. I'm creating separation. Okay, I'm rejecting a part of me, which means I'm expulsion from myself. External reapproach, shifting, victimization, externalization, external attribution. Type 6, the loyalist thinking center between mistrust and trust with the gold self. So the higher self, which is the highest potential with the gold. Okay, and then the silver is me thinking that there's an ideal version that I cannot be or have to strive to be or cannot be because of a belief in scarcity, and therefore I act in this sort of less than energy or feel I'm not quite measuring up here. So let me channel this energy, pile number 3, and get into your reading. Okay, you can click straight away on your channeled message. Pile number 3, this could be your energy of someone you're dealing with, like I always say, okay? Apply it accordingly, because the challenge here, I'm feeling one energy, and it could be someone you're dealing with, like I said, okay? And even some aspect of yourself that might be resonating with this part, okay? So let's do some signs. There's Taurus, there's Gemini, and there's Capricorn, there's Pisces, and Cancer, if I didn't say, and Libra, and Leo, and some Virgo, Aries, lots of signs. Okay. What's happening here? I feel like there is, it feels like very, very, very strong masculine energy here, okay? It doesn't have to be a male gender, but it feels very masculine. The energy here is of somebody who is very, very much mind-driven. Thoughts, ideas, beliefs that I hold in my mind drive how I engage in my world, what I say, and the action that I take. So much so that I rationalize everything, including filtering spirituality, emotions, and things that might be, well, not might, that are true, that are greater than my understanding. These truths, I filter them through the dirty filter of my mind. And why do I call it the dirty filter of the mind? Because the mind here, the veil of ignorance, has a certain set of programs. It's like a computer system that's programmed to filter information in a certain way, and then the screen pops up and it shows you what the zeros and ones make of it. And so if that veil, if that filter is made to distort the information on the screen to show what it shows, it's going to constantly run that way, always. And so right now there's a filter in place, and it's streaming information. This is the way the channel's coming through, by the way, so hopefully we can put it into practical context, okay? But it streams the information of consciousness or reality through this dirty filter, and then the screen appears. The screen meaning that in which I see and engage. And so I'm seeing out there a certain world, and I'm relating in the world, and I'm doing certain things, and I'm saying certain things like it's all really, 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 really true. Meanwhile, I'm the only one with the veil. And so I'm the only one that has the understanding of what it was that I'm dealing with here. And everyone else has a different understanding. And everyone else is sort of on a different sort of world here. And so Spirit is saying, if we removed everybody's veil, the information that's incoming is neutral. Everyone has the incoming information as neutral. Everyone. And so you and I can intake this information. And if we didn't have the dirty veil or the distorted computer program, the monitor would show exactly as it is. And we'd have harmony and peace because the neutral energy would show the truth, and I would see the truth and you would see the truth. But right now, I only see the truth in which I believe is true because my dirty veil or my filter, my program of understanding is distorting it to see it in a certain way. And it's creating my suffering, my challenge. I believe in this story. And it creates division, lack, scarcity. There's a lot of projection. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of repressed anger, resentments, feeling rejected, feeling a certain way, slighted by other or the universe, or seeing there being big disappointments. And they're real and they're true. Are they? Or are we taking something neutral and then filtering it and seeing rejection and then seeing separation and seeing lack and then making critical judgments, specifically about our own world? So what does this mean about our own world? This means everything immediately around me, I cast a judgment, okay, or a story about it, like it's real. And then I believe that it is separate from me. But the truth is, how I see that person or that situation is how I'm actually seeing myself. Because the truth of myself is what I reflect onto the external world. And so if I see judgment, if I see things I don't like, if I see dissatisfaction and rejection, if I see anything that I'm not liking, that means there's a part of me that I am not accepting. Because we can only see what's going on in our internal world and then view it on the monitor of life through us. You can't see through my eyes. I can see through your eyes. And your experience will create that veil. And so our job isn't to necessarily say that I'm going to resist the veil or I'm going to fight the veil, so much as it is I'm just aware of this veil. I'm aware of this distortion of thinking. I'm aware that I'm projecting onto this person or the situation or the circumstance and understanding that isn't true. It stemmed from some part of me that I disowned. And so if I can't accept this part of me, I cannot accept the situation as it is. Because this is the root of the suffering and the cause of the feeling lack. When I don't accept reality as it is, this person is being too mean. This situation isn't flowing. This situation is making me feel not good. This situation is resenting me or judging me or rejecting me. Is it? And Spirit's saying it's not. You're rejecting yourself through your understanding of your veil of what you're seeing. And so when we accept the situation, we see other as how they're acting and saying that is their own monitor. That must be how that person is seeing themselves. And you'd be right. Because all we could do is project what's going on in our inner world onto others. And so when someone's angry, when someone's acting all uppity, when somebody's acting a certain way, it's like they're just projecting their internal world. And how can we have success here? Or how can we move beyond this and heal this thing? Is meet this person where they're at. And so if they're being defiant or criticizing you or saying mean things, they're really just doing that about themselves. And so it's like, I hear you. I hear that's how you feel about me because it's true. They're feeling like that. And they're thinking it's you. You're the one creating my reality. You're the one creating my suffering. You're the one that's the issue. You're the one. Okay, I do feel that you see it this way, But it really is nothing to do with you. It's a projection that person is putting onto you because underneath that anger, underneath that judgment is pain, is suffering, is shame. And it's a disconnection from self. It's them not accepting a part of themselves. And so either you or someone you're dealing with or how you're dealing with a situation here, I feel is not accepting of what is. And it's running with the veil of ignorance, the distorted understanding and running like it's true. And so we need to stop and say, is there a part of me that I'm projecting into this situation. But of course, we wouldn't see it because it's in the shadow, it's in the subconscious. And how would we know then it comes online? When we're feeling resistance, when we're feeling like someone else is creating our suffering. If that's how we feel, then we know for sure we haven't accepted all of ourselves. If we feel any sort of slight by other, and of course, if someone's swearing and calling us all these words, it's like it doesn't feel good. But it doesn't make me believe that there is this bigger challenge than there actually is. I see the truth. I see that this person is just projecting a painful part within them, and they need to reach out and lash out to everyone and everything because they're hurting. And so there's the health of the individual, there's the health of a connection, there's the health of a experience here that's really being asked to be seen for what it is. And the only way that we could see it for what it is to see ourselves for who we are. So when we accept all of us, everything, even the parts that we might think aren't good or flawed or bad or dirty or ugly, they're not. That's our belief of that. And that's what keeps us not accepting it, because I have a belief it's bad, it's ugly, it's flawed. And as long as I keep believing that, my inner self is going to say, you're rejecting me. You're calling me flawed. You're calling me ugly. You're calling me this, that, and the other. That's a projection. But when we see that part and say, I used to see you as ugly, I used to see you as flawed, I used to see you as fill in the blank. And although I don't want to run with you at the helm, I want to embrace you and accept you as part of who I am. Yes, I'm judgmental. Yes, I'm an angry person. Yes, I'm fill in the blank. Yes, I'm rigid. Yes, I'm controlling. Yes, I'm all these things. Whatever you are, fill in the blank. Because we're all these things. Now, whether we engage with all those things at the helm, that's the conscious choice and free will. Because free will says when I'm conscious means I see my veil. When I'm conscious, this means I know that I have a program. I know that I'm projecting right now. I know that my internal world is being cast onto the other. Now I'm in free will. Now I make different decisions and different choices, and I can see what's happening out there. And I'm not impacted by someone's actions. When someone's acting however they act, I just know that that's their internal world. They've also disassociated, or they've also not accepted a part of themselves. And so the more you accept the part of you, all of you, the more your world out there will be at peace. The more you can make decisions engaged with people where you're not in projection, but where you're actually seeing them and accepting reality as it is. And the more you embrace these parts of self that at one point you were rejecting, creating this low self-esteem or this rejected part of self, then the more we sort of heal this rejection of self. Okay, so this has to get learned through experience. And I do feel like there's an understanding here, like I said, somebody who's right in their mind and who's trying to explain away through the mind of what they know. And that is creating the biggest suffering here, because the mind is the veil. The mind has been shaped and molded to a certain veil. It's created the filter in which we're processing neutral information, because the universe isn't bad or good. The universe is neutral. There is nothing bad or good. Everything is neutral. It's how we perceive it, and we could perceive it as good or bad. And that's how we always get to different various opinions. We can give 50 different people the same soup, and half of them say it's bad and half of them say it's good. And or somewhere in between, you know? But it's our perception that creates this reality, and then it creates the discomfort and the projection. So I feel like there's a past manipulation of energy that's built a veil, a filter of understanding. And now when something contradicts it or acts in a certain way, I refuse it, I reject it instead of accept it, because it doesn't toe the line of the thing that I knew. So I can't rationalize it. I can't reconcile it. It doesn't compute, and it creates this resistance, and then I want to fight it. And when I want to fight something, there's scarcity, there's lack. There's the truth, and then there's everything sort of that I believe in a way of having to prove. Okay, but it's like, is it really the truth? Because the truth doesn't need anyone to prove its validity. The truth is the truth. And so it's like, I got to prove my own truth, or I have to be validated or vindicated, or I have to, no. So there's a masculine energy here that I feel is in mind, is wanting control, is being asked to go through a process of looking at themselves, okay? And they could be experiencing this sort of shift or this change or this blessing, because we see fortune here. When we understand and are given the gift of being able to see it, it shifts how we deal with the universe. It shifts our fortune, it shifts our luck, it shifts our understanding. And so unexpressed anger and this madman, I feel like there's a lot of suppressed, rejected parts of self that are creating this person engagement. And I don't know if it's you or, like I said, someone you're dealing with. And so that's how I'm acting and speaking or engaged in the world. And so I do feel like this person is, the universe wants this person to have growth and movement and breakthrough and move beyond certain understandings and experiences. And they might be in resistance. This person might be not knowing how to find harmony, not knowing how to find balance. And then this limits them from exploring this next phase of their life, the growth that they're being asked to do, until they sort of learn the lesson that there is no lack, there is no scarcity, there is no part of them that's separate, no matter how much they resist it. So we could deny the truth all day long, through not accepting it, saying it's not true, I resist it, it doesn't exist. That's what we do with our internal world when we shove it away or when we project it onto others. We know when we're projecting onto others that we have an unhealed part of self that we're suppressing and denying. And Spirit is saying, allow that part to be seen, welcomed, and accepted. And only when we do it within ourselves can we do it within another. And this will create the health, because it'll help us to see, and it'll allow us to face the sun and the truth, no matter how painful it might seem, Because I feel like this person's going backwards, and that's what's creating the stagnation. It's like, out there first I want to change, out there I want to convince, or out there I need to understand and intellectualize and really gain a good understanding. Then I'll be able to see it properly. I'll be able to see the truth once I gain an understanding of it and sit and be learnt by it. It's like, no, it's actually backwards. What you're seeing out there is just keeps reflecting what's lacking within. Lacking. Okay, and it's only lacking because we're detaching from it, or we're suppressing it. But it's really not lacking. It's just not given permission to come online. And so when we disassociate from a part of ourself, or fragment parts of ourself, or it goes into the shadow, it's still a part of us. It just doesn't have permission to come online. And so there's a suppressed part that's not coming online because I don't like it. I reject it. I see this thing as less than, or it makes me feel it doesn't make me feel strong, or it doesn't make me feel a certain way that I was taught that I had to be. So if I was told I had to be a man, or I was told that feelings give away your power, if I was told all of these things, when I do have a feeling, I get shame. When I do have this other thing come online, I don't accept it. When this other thing comes online, I avoid it, or I suppress it, or I deny it, or I don't see it altogether. And then I start to project onto the world that it's the one that has the problem. And I keep seeing this over and over. And then I try to understand the problem out there and do this whole cycle thing because I'm facing the shadow. And so I need to face the light, which is the truth, which means whatever I understand is actually not helpful here. I have to see with the heart space, not with the mind space, not through the logical mind of understanding, but through the heart's intelligence. And the heart intelligence means I have to sit with all of my energy, accept the discomfort to come up, because it's not going anywhere, and it's the thing that's driving the action. And our subconscious self that's in pain is the loudest. It's the one that creates sabotage. It's the one that creates drama. It's the one that creates all sorts of problems because it wants to be heard. It wants to be accepted. It wants to be held. It wants to be integrated. And so this integration is being called, it's saying, integrate me through acceptance, not through denial. But first we must stop the projection, and we have to be accepting of the fact that I might have been ignorant to a truth, or I might have had a veil that I was running like I was running with truth, but that was a projection. It was just a mental understanding that I had, but using a veil of distortion. And through many attempts at this, I feel, then I'll be able to create something here of value. Then I'll be able to have a breakthrough and movement and balance and union and harmony. And then the health of this thing will be strong. But I have to work through my beliefs in scarcity and lack, and my rejecting of self, and my beliefs in lack, and that it's not enough, and all of this stuff. Because right now, I don't believe that I have lack. Right now, I might not believe I have low self-esteem. Right now, I might not believe that I'm doing the judgments or the anger part of it. But why am I unhappy then? Because we're not admitting and seeing the truth that what we do to other is because we're doing it to ourselves. Whatever we have going on in our internal world is always projected on our external world. And so if you're suffering, if you're experiencing any of those more negative experiences, that means there's an internal world of mine that I haven't reconciled with, I haven't accepted yet. And I don't want to carry that because the ego doesn't want to take any accountability about that. It's the other person. It's my situation. It's this person that's immature. It's this thing that doesn't get it. I get it. I get it very well. I understand it. I know it very well. I have experience. No. The more experience we have, the more distortion and the more solid in our conviction of this veil is. There's a dissociation here, and it's very strong because of the shame that's in the subconscious of a part of self that needs to be integrated. And then it takes the action and it runs with words and actions. And so I feel like this person could either be, like experiencing maybe even like a drain in their physical experience, like they're feeling physically drained. Their own physical health might be suffering here, challenges with sleep, physically, maybe involving in things here that make them feel even worse rather than better. So there's alignment with the internal world and the spiritual self. And there's almost an admittance of having to see that there are lies that we believe and run like they're true because of the ignorance and that veil that we carry. And then we project it onto other. And as long as we do that, we're not in free will. We're not consciously choosing. We're living in lack and scarcity. We're creating a separation and a division. As long as we divide ourselves internally and separate from the shame and everything I don't want to be, then we're creating separation in the world. And we could create separation, but that doesn't mean that oneness doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that unity doesn't exist. That means I'm choosing to be in relationship to the universe through the mind of scarcity, through the mind of lack. And the universe says, well, oneness exists, wholeness exists, free will exists, but you have a choice. And you could choose to be in dance and in relationship with the truth, or you could choose to be in relationship with the illusion or the ignorance. And most times, it's not even a choice when we're in ignorance because we don't see it or understand it. And the universe is saying, I'm getting you to see this ignorance. I'm getting you to see. And this is why the suffering gets turned louder and louder, or the rejection, or the disappointment, or the shame, or the guilt, or the darkness, or the shadow, or the experiences, challenging people, things that don't feel right. It's like, why is it getting worse? It's out there is worse. No, it's because Spirit's turning up the knob so that we could see a great truth. As long as we're divided inside, as long as we're creating separation within ourselves, lack within ourselves, what is okay and not okay within ourselves, instead of embracing the whole truth of who we are, the wholeness, not casting judgment, this is bad and this is good, that would be the veil. And once we do that and reconcile the internal world, the internal health, and see the truth for what it is, then the external world will start to seem more peaceful. The external world will then be something in which I could choose to be in relationship with healthily if I choose this. And then I could move forward. Then I have breakthroughs. Then I can explore what I need to explore and do what I need to do, not from a place of defensiveness, not from a place of having to defend myself, not from a place of anger, or from a place that feels it needs control, or from a place that needs to justify logically what makes sense and what doesn't. And that's how we have our breakthrough here. And so I feel like there's a truth about ourselves that's floating around our internal world, that's waiting to be integrated, accepted. And this doesn't mean I'm going to accept bad behaviors about how I am. Okay, of course, I'm not going to carry the guilt and the shame. Oh, I'm so bad. I did these bad things, because that means I'm carrying pains of the past, and that's going to do no one any good. So first I have to just forgive the action, okay, with a true heart of repentance. Like I really, truly feel bad for those actions, but I was in ignorance. And so I can forgive myself, because when you forgive yourself, you could forgive other. If you can't forgive yourself, you cannot forgive other, which means you cannot love. So forgive the action. And then there's a need to know that even if I don't like the action, the aspect of me, I can't reject that aspect of me. And I cannot judge an aspect of me, because I carry all aspects, just like everyone carries all aspects. We all have the propensity to steal, cheat, lie, kill, put in that circumstance. And only when we have judgments, only when we have a veil of distortion do we believe, not me, not me. That's the mind. I'm not like that. Nope. This is how I am. This is what's true, and this is not. It's like, no. We all have the propensity for all things. Doesn't mean we're all killers, all liars, all cheaters. But all those things are true within us. And so why would I carry any shame? If everyone and everything, and there is no scarcity, is all of God, and it all carries everything, why shame God? That in which is seeming challenging, that we do not like, is just shadows. It's the absence of God. It's the lack of light. And I believe in that. And it's just the privation, meaning, and I use this example because it gives us a good story. Let's say apple. Okay, apple came through as an analogy in the other pile, but an apple. And a pervasion would be what? Would be the apple is compiled of all that is, okay? And of course, it's all God. Okay, like God is the totality of everything. So we're not God beings as in all of God, but the apple contains all of which God, because God is the creator. So God has to create the apple, or the universe, whatever word you want to use. Okay, source creates this apple. And so the apple contains everything that is godly, because God is the whole. God cannot create something outside of itself. It can't create something it doesn't know. God has to only create something and encompasses all of itself. And so man is made in the image of God, okay, humans. And so it's everything that God is this apple, okay, not the totality, but it all contains this God-like energy, all of it. And so this apple sits here, and when it starts to rot, the rot or the mold or whatever starts to eat away at it, it's the privation. It's not an external rot comes, like a rot entity. Here's the rot, it's coming, and now it infuses it with rot. There's two entities, scarcity. There's this shadowy thing that comes and it attacks the apple. No, the apple becomes rotten through a process of privation, meaning that part that used to be whole or used to have apple in it is now turning into it's turning into it's an absence of, it's a lack, and it breaks off into this dark moldy part of the apple. Okay, but it had to come from the apple part. And so this is this shame. I'm a whole apple at once, and then I create the moldy part of the apple, and then I try to dissociate from that apple. And I could either create this two worlds, that the rot came and it attacked me, or that I the apple that's whole in God's nature, and then this rot that's happening, and I could say, well, God, why would you, God, let me rot? And why is it? No, it's the absence of the apple part here. And so I can honor all the apple I don't have to believe in the shadow or the lack or the absence or the thing that's happening there. It's the rot, it's the physical health here, and I let it sort of consume me. The absence, the shadow, the belief in that which is not good, not good, the dark, it doesn't exist, it's distorted. And so you're being asked to embrace the whole of the apple. If this is your energy, of course, this person, okay? And that's through acceptance, and that's through seeing the truth as it is. And that's not blaming another for injecting the poison or injecting the bad or the thing, because when we do it that way, we're projecting, and it's a lack mindset that out there is the threat, that it's creating this thing that I don't like. Well, then we're not in free will. Then we can't really choose. And this is through a process, because I feel like whatever you're dealing with in this situation is happening over time. Okay, but if we keep giving to the same mindset that created the problem in the first place, well, then nothing's going to really shift here. And so we're having to see through this understanding. So Spirit, very spiritual, very layered reading here. Let's take a look. Spirit, what is the guidance here for pile number 3 then regarding their situation, their circumstance? What is the guidance and the advice here for pile number 3? Let me see how much time I have. I have 10 minutes. Gotta finish up because I think this ends at 3 hours, my recording. So guidance and advice, the best guidance and advice for pile number 3 that they're needing to hear that will help them in this experience. I welcome my life as it presents itself to me. Okay? I don't project. I don't think of an ideal way. I don't disassociate. I don't fragment. I accept what is. I welcome life as it presents itself to me. Today, I take each step on my path to fulfillment with good faith. I swim easily with the flow of life. I embrace all experiences the universe bestows on me, even those that may prove challenging. I know all will fall into place for my greater good. So the more we resist it, try to change it, not accept it, the more challenging it is. So we're on the road to ascension here. Healing, health, okay? Appreciation. I am grateful for the abundance in my life as I direct my thoughts towards all that is wonderful in my world. My troubles and worries lighten. With a full heart, I appreciate all that I have. Today, I accept what is as it is and choose to be satisfied. It's a choice, conscious choice, free will. But I can't be in free will and consciousness when I'm in the illusion and in the veil, when I'm projecting, okay? So I accept what it is as it is and choose to be satisfied. I express my loving thanks to the universe for the wealth that is mine. Thank you, Spirit. Awareness. Okay, remember, turn our face to the light. So awareness. I open my consciousness to my true self. I understand that I'm here to grow, to free myself from conflict, and to discover who I really am, not the matrix self or the program. Today, I release illusions and the limitations of the material world in order to elevate my being towards the eternal light. I grow stronger and stronger as I explore the wonderful being that I am. Beautiful. Accepting what is, all of yourself. Not rejecting, not tucking it away, because when we explore the universe, we want to allow all of ourselves to come online. That means I'm accepting this part of me. I'm no longer ashamed of it. I'm no longer trying to put it away because it'll act like a bratty child. It'll want to control you in some way. It's like, you don't accept me, so I'm going to sabotage. I'm going to create all sorts of havoc here. So no, child, come out. I accept you. I see you. I love you. Let's explore the world together. Okay, just be conscious of it. Be aware of it. Forgiveness. Today, I bless each soul I perceive to have hurt me. It was them. I see through my distorted thing, but it's really an internal world here that I'm suppressing or ignoring of myself. It was them. Okay, I release them to their own greater good. I can now see that my past provides me with lessons that help me live more fully in the present. Acceptance. I no longer struggle with what has been said and what has been done. I am grateful for every experience that has brought me here. I fill myself with a love that is pure and free. And what is pure and free? No judgments, no distorted perceptions, no projections, no judgments, no victimization. So there seems to be a victimization. I'm the victim. I'm the victim to this person. No, we're not. This person is just acting their own truth of their internal world. And so you're not a victim. And so to forgive means what? To open the heart and say, I can see people living out their own beliefs of themselves. If this person has shame, if this person has lack, if this person has low self-esteem, if this person, now this isn't projected onto them, it's saying they're acting in alignment with their internal world. And so if we're silent enough, if we're aware, if we're conscious, we see people acting in all sorts of ways. They're only acting out their internal world. They can't act out anyone else's internal world. No one can act out your internal world. They can only act out their own. And so however they act is a reflection of what's going on inside of them. And so we could either internalize it and feel rejected and feel done dirty and feel victimized and feel a whole bunch of ways, or we could see beyond that with the heart and forgive and be aware and then appreciate the present moment as it is. Because when we appreciate and accept things as they are, we turn to the person and the situation differently. It's like, how can I help? I understand your pain. I understand your suffering. I understand this is how you feel. Tell me. Because under that frustration or whatever you're doing, I know there's pain, or I know there's more, it's like, I'm just here. I'm here. I'm available to you. I'm present to you. Let your hurts out, because it's healing to the universe. It's healing to the other. It's saying, I can forgive. And if I could forgive, then you can forgive. It gives others permission to forgive, to accept themselves, not to shame themselves or to omit parts of themselves. So you give others permission by being aware, by being conscious, by being in free will, by being forgiving and loving. But when we project, when we create all sorts of things, we're just perpetuating this lower state of consciousness through time of awareness and opening and forgiveness with the heart and compassion and the purity, because really it's about purity, not distortion. Can we then align with the truth? Because the truth is always there, whether we care to see it or not. Spirit will let you live in distortion all day long, lack and scarcity, or we could choose with free will to be aware and conscious and open and forgiving. Okay, pile number 3, this is your reading. I hope this helped you, and I'll see you at the next one. All right, bye-bye.